Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Marvel, Kryptonian, Man of Steel and Travel Across the Dimension. Chapter 81. If they don't even have the ability to detect us, then they are not worthy of being our opponents. The god of war, known as the General, said calmly. The actions of Holy Kesha left the people on board the Grand Canyon at a loss. Holy Kesha. Dukao said that he was being ignored and quickly shouted at Holy Kesha. However, Holy Kesha ignored him, and the angels also ignored him, and instead took off again. Now that they have discovered the Kryptonian civilization must be more important. Holy Kesha looked helplessly at the actions of her angel. I brought you on a blind date, but the result was a tense situation. But now these don't matter anymore. If the Kryptonian civilization wants to see it, let them see it. The most important thing now is Morgana. Holy Kesha soothes the uneasiness of her own angels. They are all staring blankly now, using their eyes of insight to try to find the location of the Kryptonian civilization, but naturally there is no result. The Queen. Dot has located Morgana's specific location. Will she execute the grand trial? After Angel Yan failed to discover the Kryptonian civilization, he quickly returned to the side of Holy Kesha. Even if they know that this is the sacred domain of Holy Kesha, any enemy will be solved by the silver wings of the holy domain, but as a high-level guardian angel and a holy left-wing guard, Angel Yan naturally does not allow anyone to approach Holy Kesha under their protection. To put it simply, the unobservable technologies and methods of the Kryptonian civilization made the angels stressed. The Kryptonian civilization can observe them, but they cannot observe the Kryptonian civilization. This experience is unprecedented. It's not surprising that there is such technology in the edge space. In that place, the most important thing is to hide yourself. Holy Kesha said calmly. Her words were to appease her angels and to show her confidence. The unknown is the greatest fear, and if you understand the enemy's methods, you will not have such a big fear. Sure enough, after her words were heard by the angels thought that Queen Kesha had understood the methods of Kryptonian civilization, and the tense atmosphere dissipated. As for Morgana, let the people on Earth decide for themselves. Holy Kesha continued. When she came to Blue Star, she immediately located Morgana. This was inevitable. No matter whether Holy Kesha wanted to experience what surprises the death god Karl and the others could bring to her, as long as she could do it, she would still do it. Defeat Morgana without hesitation. After all, only in this way can the possible heavy casualties be reduced. Whether it was the casualties of the Blue Star people or the casualties of the angels. The situation is changing rapidly. This is the lesson that Holy Kesha has accumulated over the years, especially since there was once a Holy Left Guard who came to an end. That was also the only time that Holy Kesha did not personally lead the war with Morgana. Since then, Holy Kesha has become resolute. Sacrificing the lives of 1 million people in exchange for Morgana's life is a good deal in the eyes of Holy Kesha. But now that Morgana has been promoted to the 4th generation divine body, the great trial can no longer destroy her. Queen, the attitude of Kryptonian civilization towards Blue Star is unclear. Angel Yan said worriedly. Ask people on Earth for their opinions. What opinions can people on Earth have, unless they look at the power of the galaxy, the future main god of the galaxy? It would have been easier to say before, but now there is an additional Kryptonian civilization in the Milky Way. No one knows the Kryptonian civilization's thoughts and purposes for the Milky Way. What if the Kryptonian civilization wants to become the main god of the Milky Way? Even if the angels are very optimistic about the future of the galaxy power, he will be the highest god in the future of the known universe, the supreme god, but the Kryptonian civilization doesn't know that. The Kryptonian civilization comes from the fringe space. Who cares about your 3 major creations? God's work, what hope against ultimate fear? I'm afraid I won't directly kill the power of the galaxy to study it. It is difficult to say whether Holy Kesha is coming to Blue Star now to protect the future of the angelic civilization of Galaxy Force. There may not have been this purpose before, but after becoming aware of the existence of Kryptonian civilization, Holy Kesha probably had this purpose. If the Kryptonian civilization wanted to interfere with Blue Star, it would have taken action long ago. We will not let that crazy woman Morgana cause trouble. Holy Kesha said calmly. What's more, she is Holy Kesha, the most powerful god recognized in the known universe. How can she give in? She has to fight. When Angel Yan thought of this, he felt that it seemed right. The devil had been wandering around for so long, and he didn't even look at the Kryptonian civilization. I guess the Kryptonian civilization looked down on Blue Star. Or do you just care about the super genes on Blue Star? Or maybe he doesn't care at all and just stays here, running to other people's homes to show off their power. Is this how the angelic civilization of the known universe is so arrogant? Suddenly a voice appeared, resounding throughout the sea and sky where the Grand Canyon was located, making the angels change their expressions. This guy is so domineering. Morgana had just hung up the secret communication due to Holy Kesha's bickering. Now after hearing Luther's voice, she immediately decisively chose to watch the show. At the doorstep, Holy Kesha looked at a behemoth that slowly appeared, which was a huge asteroid. Battle celestial bodies. Angel Yan and the others were surprised, but this time the angels also came out with a combat celestial body, but the thing on the opposite side looked very difficult to mess with. Luther sat on a throne in the heavenly palace of the supreme heaven, and the black-armored black-winged gods of war were neatly arranged in 2 rows, and then below were the super warriors with peak beast bodies and invincible bodies of golden armor and golden wings. Angel Yan, Angel Zhui, and Angel Moi saw some changes in the expressions of the black-armored black-winged gods of war, but they soon realized that they did not match the black-clothed black-winged god who attacked them. Holy Kesha also took a glance and did not match the data uploaded by Angel Yan, so she did not care. On the contrary, Holy Kesha was a little surprised that Krypton civilization actually had so many male gods, and those black armors were all dark alloys that incorporated the rarest material, dark titanium. It cannot be tracked by satellites, radars, thermal imaging and other main world tracking tools. Only reconnaissance guards can capture its position, and reconnaissance guards are reconnaissance equipment at the level of Shinhe civilization. In addition to providing powerful defense, this kind of armor itself does not generate combat energy, but can store energy and decompose energy. When the huge attack force and impact force hit the dark alloy armor, it did not rely on hardness to dissipate the power, but relied more on dark energy conversion to dilute the energy into the surrounding dark space. More importantly, they also have a dark silver coating. Holy Kesha sighed at the wealth of Kryptonian civilization. The black armor was dark silver plated with dark alloy and dark titanium elements, and even the swords held by these gods were dark silver weapons, and they were even equipped with god-killing engines. Of course, if analyzed carefully, Holy Kesha could still know that they were not real dark silver weapons. Dark silver was also just a coating, and there were still god-killing weapons inside. This was like the flaming holy sword upgraded by Angel Yan to her subordinates after she became the queen in the later period, that is, the flaming sword plus silver plating. The hardness increased, but silver was different from dark silver. It was not mixed with dark iron, so it was not as indestructible as dark silver. God-killing power type war god gene. In addition, Holy Kesha also analyzed some of the dark plane information of these black-armored black-winged gods, and could not read their dark data and super gene information. The supreme heaven was not a place to eat, and the gene lock was still very strict. Through the dark plane information she read, Holy Kesha knew that these gods with black armor and black wings were the super genes of the god-killing power type that she feared the most. And they were also the cutting-edge combat super genes of the god-killing level units. Holy Kesha feared the god-killing level super genes of the god-killing power because they were too fast. An axe chopped off half of a planet, which was also shocking in the universe war. If the stellar energy was not used, such as launching solar wind, solar flares, or triggering nuclear fusion effects, it would be very difficult to destroy a planet. But the god-killing power could do it easily, which was the horror of anti-dark matter energy. Although she imitated the original no-star god of war, studied god-killing weapons and god-killing combat, and armed more powerful guardian angels. But she knew very well that high-level guardian angels were no match for the god of war level units. Not to mention that these gods of war had the ability to fly behind them, and the angels' biggest advantage was gone. 10 gods of war with black armor and black wings. This is enough power to run rampant in the known universe. The remaining super warrior with golden armor and golden wings is not simple either. Holy Kesha analyzed the data of the peak beast body and the invincible body. She didn't know how the edge space combined the peak beast body and the invincible body. Could the beast body gene and the Shinhei body gene also be fused? They held the flame-level weapons in their hands. The basic information obtained by the analysis was similar to the flame sword, except that they were called the explosion flame sword, which could also release flame bombardment and easily destroy and burn the terrible attack of the peak beast body. The angels were basically killed when they were hit. After all, even so Tone was dead. Holy Kesha looked at Luther. Is this the Kryptonian lord who traded with the old goblin? Is he also the Kryptonian lord who robbed Morgana? After knowing the gold content of his men, Holy Kesha could no longer ignore the Kryptonian civilization. This is a terrible super god civilization that is fully capable of severely damaging the angel civilization. Queen Kesha. The angels gathered together and confronted the warriors of the Kryptonian civilization on the opposite side. Luther said that and then stopped talking, waiting for Holy Kesha to speak. He was halfway through studying the black hole engine, and after discovering Holy Kesha, he came out to say hello. Of course, Luther would not protect Morgana from doing anything to Holy Kesha, and destroying Holy Kesha now would not allow him to obtain the entire angel civilization. This is also the reason why he doesn't care about throwing the void matter to the god of death Karl. The angel civilization will only be possible to be obtained by him if it is desperate, and the same is true for the fiery sun civilization. Luther's appearance is just to show his background, telling the future angel king and the little fool Delena that my Kryptonian civilization is invincible. If you have no choice, come to me. Unlike the angels who are facing a great enemy, the attitudes of the war gods and warriors on the Kryptonian civilization are very relaxed and full of confidence, just like the mentality and momentum of the Han people looking at the Hu people when the Han people were fighting against the 5 Hu people. Luther also shaped their memories in this way. Anyway, there is Sumali's battle memory, so just compile it into them. Don't bother with the things in the marginal space. I said that Kryptonian civilization is invincible, dominating and sweeping the fringe space. Kryptonian civilization is dominating the fringe space. As for Luther himself, he was wearing a divine robe of Hades. He always felt that the most handsome black armor was Hades's divine robe and Hades' armor in the super beast armor. In this kind of occasion, of course, it is more appropriate to wear Hades's divine robe. He was already very handsome, and now with this divine robe, he is even more handsome, and full of majesty and sacredness. So many third-generation divine bodies and third-generation super soldiers. Angel Yan also saw the level of the Kryptonian civilization on the opposite side, and could only say one thing, that is, it was scary. If they went to war with the Kryptonian civilization, perhaps their group of high-level guarding angels and those angel vanguards would all die here. The combat capability of the war god level units is too strong. At best, they can only be regarded as scientific research warriors who can fight, and they are not as good at fighting as the war god level. This guy is so rich and he robbed me. Morgana's eyes turned red when she saw this scene. 10 war gods, you. How could she be robbed and blackmailed by the main god of such a civilization? Karl, this guy is too outrageous. I guess he can deal with Holy Kesha alone. Morgana said to the god of death Karl. 4th generation divine body, he has been promoted to the 4th generation divine body. Death Karl was silent for a while, then said, "What, the last time we met, he was still a 3rd generation divine body. So soon, he has become a 4th generation divine body." Morgana couldn't believe it. His atoms are very special. It is very likely that he is a 4th generation divine body of the god of war. Death Karl read part of Luther's information through the big clock, but it was Luther himself who deliberately let people read it. He wanted people to know how strong he was. Of course, these are just shells. Luther would never let people read his super genes. So what Death Karl read was the shell of the 4th generation divine body created by Luther. Death Karl has studied the 4th generation divine body technology of Holy Kesha's holy body. The holy atoms are almost indestructible. Supernova explosions can only scatter but not destroy any holy atoms, but the atoms he read of Luther's 4th generation divine body are even more exaggerated. The atoms are locked together by strong gravity and strong interaction. In the macroscopic realm, his divine body is almost indestructible. Even a supernova explosion cannot hurt him. Death Karl said to Morgana. What? Morgana was shocked. Morgana was still thinking about taking revenge on Luther, but now Death Karl said that Luther is indestructible. Impossible, How can there be something indestructible in the known universe? One supernova explosion is not enough, then let's have 10, 100. Morgana said to Death Carl unwillingly. Death Carl didn't know how to tell Morgana about the concept of absolute rigid body. Morgana was a scientific god, but she had been wasting too long, and she had no time to study because she was being hunted by Holy Kesha. But it's not impossible to destroy. Death Carl just said that it was almost indestructible. If a supernova explosion couldn't solve it, could a black hole solve it? For Death Carl, Luther, who pursued an indestructible god of war level 4th generation body, was easier to deal with. Because his body was so powerful and difficult to solve, he must not be good at wormhole transportation technology, although others also found it difficult to transport him and solve his body. But for Death Carl with a big clock, it was not a problem at all. Wasn't Holy Kesha also difficult to solve? However, he redefined the spatial position of Holy Kesha, provided that Holy Kesha did not move. If she moved, it would be difficult for Death Carl to locate her. Do you have a way to deal with him? Morgana immediately became excited. Yes, but wait until Holy Kesha is destroyed. Death Carl said speechlessly. Holy Kesha looked at Luther, and then looked at his men. What is the name of this Kryptonian god? Holy Kesha broke the tense atmosphere between Kryptonian civilization and angel civilization. God King, Luther said calmly. Anyway, Holy Kesha claimed to be the king of gods. When Angel Yan faced Pan Zhen, she also said that if Queen Kesha was still there, she would make Pan Zhen kneel down. At that time, Angel Yan had just become a god, and the gap between him and Pan Zhen was so big in terms of strength and status. It is conceivable how crazy these angels were when Kesha was there. No wonder the Liang civilization would think of agreeing to the cooperation of Death Carl to let Holy Kesha bid farewell. Your Majesty, you said this is your doorstep, so do you want to make Chiwu star system and Milky Way your home? Sacred Kesha asked calmly. Wherever I am, that is where Kryptonian civilization is. Luther said. Then Angel Yan and other angels all felt the pressure. Two terrifying dark energies were fighting each other. Sacred Kesha raised her eyebrows. Now Luther and the people of Kryptonian civilization are within her sacred domain. As long as she wants, she can make silver blades grow in their bodies. But Luther is something she can't solve, and if Sacred Kesha takes action first, this matter will not end well. Luther's driving dark energy is just a show, but Sacred Kesha's dark energy reserves are indeed beyond imagination. Morgana is a little bit behind her in dark energy. Sacred Kesha feels that Luther's dark energy is a bit strange. The dark energy of gods and super soldiers all has its own breath, which can be understood as dark energy with personal code imprints, so it is easy to judge which target the dark energy data meets through this point. In the original plot, when Hua Yi descended, a huge amount of evil dark energy was detected. She found it strange that Luther's dark energy was unexpectedly pure, as if it was used directly without coding. But how could this be possible? Dark energy that has not been coded can be driven by the enemy at will. She tried it and found that these dark energies seemed to be not coded by the algorithm. In fact, she couldn't drive these dark energies. It seemed that there was a special technology. There are too many unknowns in the edge space. Holy Kesha became interested. As the tomboy going to fight with Luther, his eyes clone naturally saw these things, and she could only say that she was convinced by Luther's family background. Because no one knows that the Void Engine can pinch resources infinitely, they all think that the family background of Krypton civilization was obtained by plundering the edge space. That is the edge space. God knows how many resources there are. After all, they dare not go to the edge space after the known universe failed to calculate the details of the edge space. Who knows if the aerospace technology is pointed out in that place and the wormhole is crossed, it will hit a black hole or a star. Otherwise, don't they know that the edge space may be much larger than the known universe, with much more resources? The dark energy drive technology is also very different from ours. I can't see anything for the time being. She didn't know if they would fight. The tomboys have always been strong in the known universe, and they may not be weak in the face of the super god civilization from the edge space. And the Kryptonian civilization doesn't seem to be the one who will bow down. So, the two of them may fight, or they may let their subordinates fight. She is very much looking forward to it. Anyway, she is not worried about the tomboy. She only thinks that if they fight this time, she will probably be able to collect a lot of data from the Kryptonian civilization, right? The words of the God King are too arrogant. Sacred Kesha suddenly said. Fight, fight, kill Kesha, that fool. Morgana cheered in her demon no. 1. Don't waste your saliva, just fight if you want to. Luther declared very domineeringly. Holy Kesha raised her eyebrows and raised her hand, and then pieces of silver blades emerged from the ripples of space, forming a pair of huge silver wings. Queen Kesha's silver wings. The angel's confidence soared. Dark Su silver weapon. Luther supported his cheek with one hand, and placed the other hand flat on the armrest of the seat, and then raised his fingers. Clang clang clang. The angels stared in amazement at the various shapes of strange and colorful divine weapons that appeared from the golden ripples in front of Luther. These are all Dark Su silver weapons, God-killing weapons, and flame-level weapons. Holy Kesha only took a glance to see the details of these weapons. The angels shared the computing power bonus of Holy Kesha's knowledge treasury, so they could naturally see the details of these weapons. How is it possible? There are so many Dark Su silver weapons, God-killing weapons, and flame-level weapons. Angel Yan couldn't believe it. This is the king's treasure house of my god. The weapons collected here are all weapons of civilizations defeated by our Kryptonian civilization. The leading god of war spoke calmly. King's treasure house. Saint Kesha was thoughtful when she heard the name. Does it look like the same thing as her own arsenal? How many civilizations have been destroyed? Looking at the golden halo that covered the sky, even the sky and the earth were rendered golden. Angel Yan muttered to himself. Come on. Luther put down his finger, and the next moment, these divine weapons were aimed at the angels. The cold weapons of various shapes were all shining brightly in the golden light. With Luther's movements, a terrifying whistling sound was emitted, and the magic weapons flew out with golden streams of light. Just from this momentum, it can be seen that these magic weapons are not easy to deal with. The angels' pupils shrank, and they quickly waved the flaming swords to prepare to resist these magic weapons. Retreat, these things are not something you can stop. Although the Holy Kesha did not care about the casualties and sacrifices of the angels, it had to be a war with the devil, not sacrificed in such a meaningless temptation. Therefore, the computing power of the holy knowledge treasury began to soar, in exchange for a large number of silver blades and silver wings from the arsenal. Boom 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 boom. The deafening sound of metal collision. Each collision between a cold weapon and a silver blade would produce a terrifying shock wave, shaking the sea to a tsunami. Jie Shaolun and others covered their ears, feeling a splitting headache. Get out of here. Du Cao and the others didn't expect that they didn't even have the qualifications to watch the battle, so they hurriedly said. The super soldiers all felt a splitting headache, and the ordinary soldiers had already fallen to the ground and struggled. This is a shock wave that can shock people to death. The golden halo ripples behind Luther kept piercing out weapons, and under the rendering of golden light, it showed supreme majesty. As an angel of the Appearance Association, she said that he had never seen such a handsome man. This style and momentum are simply a stunt against tomboys. Saint Kesha frowned, feeling as if someone was saying bad things about her, but she guessed that it was probably Morgana, so she didn't care much. To be honest, Luther's performance was neither high nor low, but the level was too high. Saint Kesha had the leisure to evaluate Luther during the battle, and by the way, packaged Luther's current dark data video and sent it to the old goblin. She knew that the old goblin was in the late stage of face control. Seeing a man like Luther, she might be able to get out of being single, so that people would not always say that the two of them were together. The original body she was heading to the Chiwu star system. After suddenly receiving the secret communication from the Holy Kesha, she received the data and saw the brilliant light behind Luther. He was wearing a black and silver armor, with pale white hair and a cold face. The sharp features and dark and deep eyes all showed nobility and elegance. The eyebrows and eyes were like a stroke of genius, a gift from heaven, as if the gods created an existence with beauty as the theme. Even with the angel's almost perfectionist aesthetics, it is difficult to find fault with this person. Is this Luther? His eyes clone transmitted the data to the original body, so she was absent-minded for a while and then compared who this was. Luther, the main god of Krypton civilization, calls himself the God King. His current ability is the King's Treasure House. A total of 137 dark silver weapons, 500 god-killing weapons, and 1,000 flame weapons have appeared. The data given by Holy Kesha was very detailed, so she didn't know what to say. After contacting his own clone, he knew that the man-woman and Luther were sparring. This extremely terrifying scene was a tentative attack and competition for the two of them. The man-woman hadn't taken out the Dark Silver Archangel yet, and there were still a lot of things in the arsenal that hadn't been taken out. Luther didn't look serious, but the angels and the super soldiers of the hero company seemed like adventurers escaping from an iceberg avalanche. Every collision between weapons could make them frightened and affected. So that's it. Is it a unique wormhole transport technology? Saint Kesha looked at it for a while and saw the details of the king's treasury. There were traces of wormhole transport, but it looked different from the mainstream wormhole transport technology in the known universe. The fired weapons were not controlled, but directly recovered into the king's treasury and refired. It was as if these weapons were used as artillery shells. Anyone who saw it would think it was a waste of natural resources. But from Luther's attitude, he didn't seem to care about the quality of these weapons. After all, they were all robbed, and they were probably dispensable to him. What the death god Karl could read, Saint Kesha could naturally read, even if it was a lot slower. The fourth-generation divine body of the god of war has never felt so tricky. Saint Kesha had a headache. If it was a fourth-generation divine body like the holy body, there was a solution. Although she himself tried various methods and couldn't destroy the holy body, Saint Kesha would not think that the holy body was invincible. Now a tougher fourth-generation god of war has appeared. Holy Kesha couldn't think of a solution for a while. If they fought, it would be hard to say who would win, and it would be easy for both sides to suffer. So after Holy Kesha judged the situation, she took the initiative to lead the angels to retreat. Queen Kesha, Angel Yan and the others looked anxiously, but found that Queen Kesha led them to retreat and left the blue star. Give up. Luther stopped firing the king's treasury. He made this thing mainly for fun. Although the weapons inside were very dangerous, it was useless to Luther except for showing off. Holy Kesha rationally chose to stop the loss in time, and didn't care about her face. After stopping the war, neither Holy Kesha nor Luther continued to communicate. The supreme heaven disappeared again. Holy Kesha did not take the angels away from the Chiwu star system. Withdrawing from Blue Star was her concession. Now that Luther had no intention of continuing the fight, Holy Kesha did not know what Luther wanted to do. With Luther's strength, if he really wanted to fight those super genes on Blue Star, no one could stop him. Holy Kesha might take action, but the chances of winning were slim. Why didn't they fight? Morgana cursed unwillingly. She was watching the excitement, but it suddenly disappeared. It's normal. The idea of Krypton civilization is just to test its position in the food chain of the known universe. Holy Kesha is not someone that Krypton God King can easily take down, so they will not expand the war. Death Karl analyzed very rationally. That's not what I want to hear. What should I do now? Holy Kesha will not leave the Chiwu star system, right? Morgana originally wanted to use herself as bait to attract Holy Kesha, but now she is worried that Holy Kesha will abandon the Chiwu star system and go back because of the Krypton civilization here. She has been chasing you for so many years. When have you ever seen her compromise? Death Karl said. Didn't Luther make her compromise? Morgana said directly. In any case, Devil Number 1 has been saved, just like the original plot. Because Jie Shaolun did not authorize it, Morgana was able to survive on Blue Star. Holy Kesha and the others were guarding the sky above Blue Star. If Morgana dared to leave Blue Star, they would hunt down Morgana. Now, the difference is that Holy Kesha has withdrawn from the Blue Star and only stayed in the Chiwu star system, even withdrawing from the scope of the moon. Morgana and Death God Karl are both a little worried about the current turn of events. They want to ensure that Holy Kesha will not run around when they fight. At the very least, they must stop her from moving around. However, if the battlefield expands into the starry sky, there will be too many variables. As for the Grand Canyon, they have already witnessed what is called a war between gods today. Whether it was Luther's casual release of a large number of Ansu silver weapons and god-killing weapons, or Holy Kesha's unparalleled computing power, accurately intercepting every weapon, it was an eye-opener for them. The Dino civilization was completely shocked. They were like frogs in a well, and they had no idea about the gap between themselves and the angel civilization. The Dino civilization started as a war between each other. There was only one Liang civilization that could barely be regarded as a foreign enemy. At that time, the Liang civilization was not called the Liang civilization, but was called the Tiandao civilization. Then the result was that both the Dino civilization and the Liang civilization suffered losses. The Dino civilization lost its home, and the Liang civilization almost lost its home planet, and it disappeared before it could open its eyes to see the world. Dukao himself had been frozen for many years before he came to the Earth. To say that they were isolated in the country was too much. I can only say that they were similar to the scum that had just emerged from the cage. Dukao's information about angels can only rely on the records of the super seminary and asking Delena, a person from the Liang civilization. The original plot was so outrageous that it was planned to use 3 stages of god-killing operations against Holy Kesha in the sacred realm of Holy Kesha, and control Zhe Xiaolun, Lu Chuang and Delena through the backstage authority of the super seminary. Luther didn't know how the person involved, Holy Kesha, could not hold back his laughter. Anyway, he felt that if he were Holy Kesha at that time, he would definitely not be able to help it. I didn't expect the angel civilization to be so powerful. What happened to the Kryptonian civilization? Dukao said with a solemn expression in the conference room of the Black Great Wall base. Kryptonian civilization first appeared in a broadcast. We have analyzed this broadcast and found that it was broadcast by invading and controlling all radio signals on the entire Earth, but it was not taken seriously at that time. After this incident, Lianfeng had already started investigating the Kryptonian civilization and angel civilization. It is a pity that among the information of the super seminary, there is only part of the information about the angel civilization. It is already a great thing to be able to record Angel Yan, the sacred left-wing guard. Angel Yan was discovered when he first came to the Earth. Then Dukao compared the database of the super seminary and learned the identity of Angel Yan. It's just that the information they recorded has lagged behind for who knows how many years. Mr. Luther of Kryptonian civilization, Mr. Luther of Kryptonian civilization, I am Angel Yan of angelic civilization. Our angel civilization hopes to continue trading with you, and we are willing to add 3 super gene engine materials. The broadcast was replayed by Lianfeng. At that time, Dukao just asked Lianfeng to pay attention to it, and left it alone until the culprit was found. Now that the power of Kryptonian civilization has been demonstrated through the angel civilization, it has naturally attracted attention. Judging from this broadcast, it seems that the holy left-wing guard of the angel civilization is looking for a deal with the Kryptonian civilization. And the content of the transaction is probably unusual. Dukao expressed envy, jealousy and hatred, and the Dino civilization and super seminary were so poor that their eyes were red. As a result, the top super god civilizations are trading, and the super gene engines are just gifts. Rena, what do you think? Dukao looked at Delena and asked. He couldn't tell what information. Ah, Uncle Du, I don't know this. Delena was still thinking about the main god of Krypton she saw during the day. No matter in terms of strength, appearance or status, the other person had achieved the ultimate goal of a civilized main god and king. Delena felt that she had the same status as him, but was inferior. So much. She felt like a huge failure, and then she envied Luther. The God King of Krypton left a very deep impression on her. It can be said that Luther's strategic goal has been achieved. At least Delena has a psychological impression of his power. This caused her to be subtly affected by this impression in the future. Doesn't the Sun civilization have information about the Kryptonian civilization? Dukao asked Delena, of course, because he wanted to see if the Liang civilization knew about the Kryptonian civilization. Sorry, Uncle Du, before this, I have never heard of a super divine civilization like the Kryptonian civilization in the known universe. Maybe it was another super divine civilization supported by the space principal when he was still there. Quote. Delena shook her head and said. She didn't lie, she really didn't know. However, I have already passed all the information back to Pan Zhen. Maybe Pan Zhen will know about the Kryptonian civilization. Delena continued. After all, Pan Zhen is the regent of Liang civilization. The database of Tiandao Tower is undefended to him and he can read everything. With the size of the Liang civilization that has existed for such a long time, if they don't know about the Kryptonian civilization, there will be nothing they can do. Really? I see. I look forward to Mr. Pan Zhen's reply. Du Cao nodded, and then thought about it. What Delena just said was not impossible. After all, their Dinor civilization rose in this way. The Shenhe civilization opened super god academies everywhere, leaving behind many legends of the gods of the Shenhe civilization and the super god civilizations supported by the super god academies. Don't think that there are few, but only a few civilizations have emerged at the top. This is the case with the Liang civilization, the Dinor civilization, and even the rise of the Angel civilization only after contact with the super god academy. No one knows why the Shenhe civilization is so generous and spreads the technology of gods and super soldiers to the known universe. Some civilizations think that the Shenhe civilization is to deal with the physical war between the Shenhe body, the beast body and the triangle body, in order to ensure that the Shenhe body civilization can suppress the beast body civilization and the triangle body civilization. Some civilizations also think that the gods and super soldiers technology spread by the super god academy must have problems. They are influencing the known universe in their own way, causing the technological development of the entire known universe to go astray. If there had not been the influence of the super seminary, perhaps the current technology in the known universe would be a flourishing and diverse place. Instead of the stereotyped dark plane, super genes, supercomputers and other technologies. But if the Kryptonian civilization is also a super god civilization born under the influence of Shenhe Star Network and Super Seminary, then what is their purpose? Why didn't they appear before and have been hiding themselves? Why did they suddenly appear now? If the Kryptonian civilization is really a super god civilization born under the influence of the Super Seminary, there should be information about them in the Super Seminary's data, right, Lianfeng? Du Cao then looked at Lianfeng. Sorry, sir, I can't find any information about the Kryptonian civilization in the database. Lianfeng replied quickly. Is there no information about them in the Super Seminary's database? Du Cao was a little unbelievable. Even the Angel civilization has information records, but this Kryptonian civilization that can make the Holy Kesha retreat can't be found at all. Is the Kryptonian civilization too special? No, it is also possible that they changed their name. Just like the Tiandao civilization became the Liang civilization. It's a troubled time. First, the Teoti civilization invaded Blue Star on a large scale. Then the Neon broke out the demon gene virus, and the demon civilization also invaded. Now the Angel civilization is chasing the demons, and they have encountered a Kryptonian civilization of unknown origin. Du Cao was very troubled. He didn't expect that such a small Chiwu star system could gather so many exaggerated forces. There are 3 super god civilizations alone. If you count the forces behind them, such as the Liang civilization represented by Delena and the Styx civilization represented by the Teoti civilization, that's 5 super god civilizations. How can Blue Star gather so many super god civilizations? They all came for the super genes of the Super God Academy. Du Cao judged this point. After all, the most valuable things in the entire Blue Star are these things. It can't be said that the Kryptonian civilization came just for the land of Blue Star, right? A place without any resources can attract a super god civilization. What a joke. Anyway, the Blue Star and Chiwu Star systems are too small to withstand the tossing of these great gods. The representative of the official high level of the Hua dynasty said this, and then looked at Du Cao. The super soldiers of the Shangbinglian have not grown up yet. We are not their opponents. We can only protect ourselves. Du Cao shook his head and said, the gap between civilizations is not so easy to close. It is already a good thing that they can persist in not being invaded. Next, I will let them continue to deal with the invading demons, so that they can also get the best training. Du Cao said, I know. The high-level officials of the Hua dynasty knew that they could defend the Hua dynasty now because of the credit of the Shangbinglian. If ordinary troops deal with those demons, the casualties will be too great. But they don't know that the growth of super gene warriors is not enough to fight, but also requires learning. If it was the German Star Spear, the No Star Blade, or other super genes with limited potential or combat types, it would be fine. The problem is that the 2 most promising super genes, the Spacetime Rose and the Galaxy Power, are currently being thrown into battle with demons, with no intention of letting them learn and grow. In this case, even if another 10,000 years pass, they will not be able to grow up. Fortunately, I didn't let my Keelan repeat the same mistake. Luther listened to the meeting completely, and then said with emotion. He knew Keelan's character very well. If she awakened her super gene, she would definitely devote herself to serving the motherland. Now she is just an ordinary person, so she is so active and hardworking, so Luther will not let her awaken her super gene. At the same time, he did not intend to let Keelan know his true identity, so as to prevent Keelan from mixing some impurities such as interests with him for the sake of Blue Star and affecting their relationship. Anyway, Luther can ensure that Keelan and her parents are safe and sound. Besides, the loss of a sniper will not affect their war, and it can also stimulate their potential, so why not? After Dukao finished the meeting, he actually held a small meeting with Lianfeng. Do you think we can use Zhe Xiaolun and others to attract Kryptonian civilization? Dukao's words were shocking, which made Lianfeng's eyes widen. General Du, what do you want to do? Lianfeng said in disbelief. The emergence of angel civilization and demon civilization has caused the situation to get out of control. Dukao said with a grim face. It was not time for us to awaken the super gene, but because of the invasion of Teoti civilization, we had to awaken the super gene. The current Blue Star does not give them the time to awaken and the environment to tap their potential, not to mention that there are now demon civilizations, angel civilizations and Kryptonian civilizations. Dukao felt under great pressure. From the perspective of the original plot, Dukao did not have any conspiracy theories. After all, it was not reasonable for him to want to attract angels to join. When Teoti civilization invaded, he asked Elena to come to Blue Star to activate the super gene to fight against Teoti civilization. The angel came to Blue Star purely because he found traces of Morgana. That's why Dukao and the others were caught off guard in the original plot. In addition, they were narrow-minded and didn't know the gap between the angel civilization and the Dinor civilization. They thought that the Dinor civilization had mastered the three major god-making projects and was the most advanced civilization. At least the technology gap is not big, but he doesn't know that the technology of the known universe has been updated and iterated to a point that he can't understand and imagine. This led to the so-called war maniac being solved by a god-killing bullet, but Morgana also complained that Dukao died like a game, so easily killed. Naturally, it is not ruled out that Dukao will have a clone to die in his place like a G, or be resurrected through a clone. But we don't know the situation of Krypton civilization. General, is this too risky? Lianfeng already knew Dukao's idea, which is to use the galaxy power and other super genes to attract Krypton civilization to enter and help them. Just like the Liang civilization that provided a lot of resources and helped activate super genes. Krypton civilization, at least it should be more trustworthy than Liang civilization, right? Dukao said calmly. Liang civilization provided a lot of resources for training super soldiers and the support of a main god. Their purpose is self-evident, but Dukao did not want Liang civilization to get the galaxy power. The demon civilization is notorious, and it is even more impossible to cooperate with the demon civilization. The angel civilization is too powerful and too domineering, which is not good for Blue Star and Super Gene. Krypton civilization can compete with the angel civilization, and they suddenly appear now, so they must have some ideas. The Kryptonian civilization suddenly appeared and competed so strongly with the angelic civilization. One can imagine what their purpose is. Challenge the righteous order of divine Kesha and become the new order setter. In addition, does the Kryptonian civilization have other purposes? Dukao was thinking about whether he could use the Kryptonian civilization. Although this approach is likely to be seeking skin from a tiger or luring a wolf into the house, Dukao feels that he can control the speed inside. General, I personally object to this. If you still insist, I can only obey. Lianfeng said helplessly. Let's take a look at the situation first. It would be better if we could learn more about the Kryptonian civilization. Dukao did not insist on his own ideas. If he was a war madman in the past, Dukao would be stubborn. Besides, we don't know how to contact the Kryptonian civilization. Lianfeng said quickly. Hasn't the angel civilization already demonstrated this to us? Dukao said with a smile. Lianfeng then remembered Angel Yan's broadcast to the world to search for Kryptonian civilization. Suddenly she didn't know what to say. This matter should not be too strange in any aspect. However, this also shows that the Kryptonian civilization is paying attention to Blue Star. Otherwise, there is no way to explain why the angel civilization would use such an outrageous method to contact them. On the angel civilization side, they are also talking about the Kryptonian civilization. That Kryptonian civilization dared to offend Queen Keisha, it's simply unforgivable. Angel Lang said, very angry. On the contrary, I think the people of the Kryptonian civilization are pretty good, especially the male gods. All of them are stalwart real men. Another high-ranking angel said, are you a nymphomaniac? I'm just telling the truth. Then why don't you go find those men from Liang civilization? Those people in Liang civilization all want 3 wives and 4 concubines, but I don't want them. Holy Kesha watched tenderly as the group of female angels under her were bickering. She felt that this was the time she enjoyed the most. Let's not talk about the Kryptonian civilization. Their attitude towards us is not friendly, but it is not that bad either. Angel Yan expressed a more objective attitude. She didn't want to cause a conflict between the angel civilization and the Kryptonian civilization because of Angel Lang. Everyone knew the nature of what happened today, but among the kings, even a tentative attack was beyond imagination. This was the first time Angel Yan saw Queen Kesha showing such a powerful force. When she was chasing demon civilization in the past, although the queen also showed very strong power, but because Morgana didn't fight many times, she always ran away. Today is the first time I opened my eyes. Yan, you can see clearly that the attitude of the Kryptonian civilization is not as extreme as imagined. They may just want the Milky Way as their new home. Holy Kesha's step back was also a test. If Luther refused to give in, it would mean that Luther had the idea to conquer the known universe. After all, now is the best chance to capture her. The army of angel civilization is not here, but they have only brought a dozen high-level guarding angels. With the strength of Kryptonian civilization, they can definitely deal with them here. However, Luther did not do this, and Holy Kesha then understood Luther's attitude. For this reason, she didn't mind abiding by Luther's rules. In this case, what should Sister Yan do? Angel Moi said. Everyone knows that Angel Yan has been betrothed to the power of the galaxy by Holy Kesha. Now that Blue Star is in such a situation, it is not easy for Angel to enter. Angel investment is the most famous investment in the known universe, especially Guardian Oath, which has been built into a reputation brand by Holy Kesha. At least judging from the performance of Angel Juxin and Angel Yan, after taking the oath of guardianship, they can do anything for the person they protect. Their investment is also very simple. Any super warrior or god rises at the end of his life, or has time to grow. Before that, the angel will come down to earth. That is, he will fold his wings and accompany the person he invests in. The beautiful angel will never leave you and will accompany you in every possible way. It is difficult for anyone to escape this kind of treatment. At the very least, if Angel Yan hadn't been a step too late and Jie Xiaolun was attracted by Du Qiangwei's big butt, plus the infatuation gene added to him by Angel, Jie Xiaolun probably wouldn't have been able to resist Angel Yan. Well, looking back, Jie Xiaolun actually couldn't resist. What they want is the future, and for this they don't care what they have done before. It's as if for the power of the galaxy, the younger generation of angels are willing to follow Angel Yan at all costs. As usual, after the matching is completed, Angel Yan will go to Jie Xiaolun's side, silently pay attention to him and accompany him. The original plot was that everything changed too fast. Angel Yan originally wanted to observe Jie Xiaolun for a long time and let him grow. Holy Kesha also asked her to go to Fraser with Jie Xiaolun to deal with the sword demon Atuo, who didn't know he had become a god. Now, because of the Kryptonian civilization, it seems that the angel civilization cannot continue to do this. I think it's better to just give up. That galaxy power looks silly. Angel Lang heard what Angel Moi said and said immediately, "How can you talk about Sister Yan's future like this?" Angel Moi immediately retorted, "Yan's future, that Yan's future is dark." The angel sarcastically said that she looked down upon the power of the galaxy and did not want her good sisters who had been bickering for so many years to fall into a deep pit. It's a pity that she doesn't know the significance of the power of the galaxy to Angel. Once this super gene is activated, unless Jie Xiaolun is completely killed, there is no way to give up. If Angel Yan is not willing, Holy Kesha will arrange for others to go. There is nothing that Angel Yan cannot accept about her fate and future. She looks bohemian, but in fact she obeys the orders of Holy Kesha and is willing to sacrifice herself for Angel's future, no matter how unbearable Jie Shaolun is. Manly woman. Just when Holy Kesha was thinking about how to communicate with the Kryptonian civilization next, a secret communication made her mouth curl up. Hexie's real body, which he had been waiting for a long time, finally arrived. You came quite quickly. Why, you can't wait to meet the God King. Holy Kesha said with a smile. Already met once. Apart from being stunning at the beginning, Hexie has now regained her composure. Even though she is a Yango, after so many years, Hexie has not seen some beautiful men and handsome men. If he was really that handsome, Hexie wouldn't be pure now. At most, she is just greedy, but she has the heart but not the courage. I know. Holy Kesha naturally knew that she and Luther had already met once, but during the original transaction, she probably did not expect that Luther would have such a noble status as the God King. O King of Gods. This is not a title that ordinary people can get. Even Holy Kesha only claims to be the King of Gods. In fact, everyone is just afraid of her sacred domain. Then do you want to see him again? Holy Kesha continued. Man, what bad things are you thinking about? She immediately became vigilant on the communication side. Nothing, I just want you to communicate with the Kryptonian civilization and see what their purpose is. Holy Kesha said calmly. It's not like she has never done anything like this kind of communication. This was the case when he went to Liang civilization to study abroad. I'm retired, manly woman. She said with a sneer. Want to trick her into a beauty trap? Is Hexie such a superficial woman? Old goblin, you are not young anymore. Holy Kesha sighed. My queen, would you like me to remind you how old you are now? She retorted. I can't, you know. Holy Kesha said without hesitation. It's impossible for me either. She paused. She couldn't imagine a man-in-law falling in love, nor could she imagine herself falling in love with someone else. That's outrageous. They have experienced too much and are no longer the female angels who easily believe in true love. Luther knew this very well, so he had no strategy plan for the three angel kings. This is impossible. Although everyone comes to the super seminary with the idea of opening a harem, it is impossible for the three angel kings to capture it no matter what. For Luther, it would be easier to collect a group of short skirts carefully selected by angels. Of course, he could also conquer the three angel kings through violence, but that would be meaningless. And he found it very troublesome. There were not many women that he could actively pursue. Just like Du Qiangwei was too lazy to look at him, Morgana was killed every time he saw her. I just want you to communicate. If that doesn't work, there will be others. Holy Kesha said. Then just let those little angels under you go. That guy is a king. Do you think he will change his mind so easily? She was amazed by Luther's charm, but he also knew that Luther was not a young man, nor a young male god. On the contrary, he was a god king. With such an existence, it was impossible for any man to want of true love. This man-in-law wants to push her into a pit of fire. After so many years of sisterly love, she has finally paid for it wrongly. Holy Kesha said that she just wanted to sell her best friend who had been unsaleable for 30,000 years. What was wrong with her? Didn't she want her best friend to be happy? Forget it, it's just a simple exchange. At the very least, I want to know his purpose. Holy Kesha is good at teaching. My young angels don't have the status to talk to him. Then she blocked Hexie's words. Identity. She knew that this was the most boring and important thing. A king-level conversation could only be with another king. So Zai's resentful voice came through the secret communication. I can't guarantee that I can ask for anything, and maybe they will take me as a hostage. When the time comes, man, you have to come and rescue me. Hexie frowned. Go ahead, I'll be right behind you. Holy Kesha said seriously. I don't know what Zai's reaction was. Since the Supreme Heavenly Court was noticed by Holy Kesha, they have not continued to hide. Of course, if the technology does not reach a certain height, there is no way to discover their existence, just like the Dino civilization and the Demon civilization cannot discover it. Angel civilization and Death Song Academy can discover the existence of the Supreme Heaven. When Holy Kesha encouraged her best friend to send her away 1,000 light years away, there was already a visitor who visited the supreme heaven. Of course, it wasn't Karl, the god of death, who came in person. He didn't have the courage yet. Karl, the god of death, is not afraid of death, he just doesn't want to die before the arrival of the Void Era. However, Snow is the same, because he brings the projection of Karl, the god of death. Death Song Academy. The Kryptonian civilization had already dealt with Death Song Academy once, but their king was very straightforward and would leave without making a deal. Now, Karl, the god of death, already knows why Luther can be so straightforward. Just as he had guessed before, Luther is a well-deserved king of gods. He will not fall behind when facing Holy Kesha directly. This is even the first time he has seen Holy Kesha give in. Since the Supreme Heavenly Court is no longer hiding, it will not refuse visits from those who have the ability to discover them. Karl, the god of death, also saw Luther again. Unlike before, Luther was still wearing the armor he wore when he faced Holy Kesha. I have met His Majesty the God King. Karl, the god of death, said very politely. Karl, god of death, you came to visit me. What do you want? Luther originally thought that the people who came would be the ones in short skirts. After all, Holy Kesha would definitely want to send someone to find out his purpose, and the identity of this person cannot be low. So he guessed that it should be Angel Yan, who had no idea that Hizai's real body had come. As for Hizai's clone on Earth, Luther knew that Holy Kesha would not do that. It would be a bit rude and too impolite for a clone to visit. Even if she sent a 4th-generation divine body clone, it would be the same. Holy Kesha herself could not risk entering the supreme heaven. She was confident, but not arrogant. Your Majesty the God King, I just want to inquire about the void. Death Karl said to Luther very directly. Void, I remember that the known universe does not prohibit the void theory. Luther paused before saying. Death Karl immediately verified his guess. No, it's just that Queen Kesha of the Angel Civilization prohibits the study of the void theory, and I think the Kryptonian civilization has exploded the black hole of the known universe and obtained the void matter, right? Death Karl continued. Although he did not read any useful dark data from Luther in front of him, Death God Karl would not deny the possibility that Luther did not have the power of the void. This kind of thing, a mere projection, is not enough to talk about it. Luther raised his eyebrows, and then he waved his hand. The next moment, the terrifying dark energy was released, and the projection of Death God Karl was instantly wiped out, and Snow also disappeared with a horrified look on his face. The god of death, Karl, looked helplessly at the disappearing projection and Snow. This was the first time. Fortunately, he had always been cautious and did not leave the Death Song Academy to discuss it, otherwise he would not have been erased. Void energy strike. Void energy information and reaction cannot be detected. The god of death, Karl, began to detect various situations of Luther's actions, and at the same time resurrected the erased Snow. Fortunately, Snow has a dark data backup, plus the genes and dark matter left in advance. Although the resurrected Snow is no longer the previous Snow, he is still Snow. Snow himself would not feel that such a resurrection would no longer be him. The resurrected Snow was still a little frightened. It was resurrected by the god of death, Karl, using the dark data of the previous Snow. The previous Snow had always been connected to the Death Song Academy, so its dark data was also updated to the last moment. So he knew what it felt like to be destroyed. The power of killing gods. By combining Snow's dark data, Death God Karl knew what power Luther used to destroy them at that time. The power of killing gods. That is anti-dark matter energy. This is an energy that is more advanced than stellar energy and dark energy. Before the void energy comes out, the god-killing power is the most advanced energy that gods and super warriors can master. A war god level super gene, a god-killing super gene. The god of death, Karl, breathed a sigh of relief. Through this, he could deduce the type of Luther's super gene and then conduct targeted research. It's just that the power of killing gods is really unparalleled in terms of destructive power. It is very difficult to restrain the impact on super genes and the physical destructive ability, unless the god of death, Karl, is equipped with a void warrior. After all, it is not like stellar energy, which requires time to start, nor is it like dark energy, which completely depends on the amount and intensity of driving dark energy. It's also possible that the void engine is hidden. The god of death, Karl, was not careless and carefully analyzed all of Luther's possibilities. Luther doesn't seem to need to use all his strength to deal with Snow. That would be too underestimated for a king. Oh my god, this god king of the Kryptonian civilization is too domineering. Snow had a problem with Luther, mainly due to fear. Karl, the god of death, glanced at him. Well, it's really hard for him to communicate. He has always had a headache that Holy Kesha is very overbearing in prohibiting his behavior of blowing up black holes, but now there is no harm without comparison. Death god Karl feels that Holy Kesha is not very domineering in fact. Luther seems very outrageous. He has only been in the known universe for a short time, and he has already killed a lot of super soldiers and gods. Even Morgana, a king-level existence, died once. Although it is not that Morgana has never died. Holy Kesha has killed her several times, and Hexy's star has also chased her for countless light years. However, Morgana has been resurrected by her own dark data backup. This was the first time that Morgana was resurrected by his own hands, which made the god of death, Karl, feel different, as if she was sad. But he is already a phantom, and this feeling of paradox does not remain much. After being resurrected, Morgana was still very energetic, cursing and cursing, which quickly dispelled the specious feeling of death. Karl. Ha 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 ha, Karl, I heard that your grandson was killed by that guy Luther. Then Morgana's dark communication came. It wasn't me who was killed, it was Snow who was killed. Karl, the god of death, replied gently. TCH, it turns out you weren't killed. Morgana complained that she thought they were both from the same world. If you want me to experience the same feeling as you don't have to do this, Liang Bing. Death Karl said. Shut up, you told me to call me Queen Morgana. Morgana ignites at a moment's notice, explodes as soon as she burns, and curses. But she stopped after scolding for a few minutes. After all, she called mainly about Luther. Like Holy Kesha, she wants to understand the purpose of Luther and the Kryptonian civilization. The current situation is very complicated. Demons are raging on the Blue Star. Only the people of Earth are fighting back. The counterattacks of the Super Seminary, Dino civilization and super soldiers are not taken lightly by Morgana. Maybe they have a bright future, but for now, the Devil civilization and the Gluttonous civilization have the final say. The problem is that now there is an additional Kryptonian civilization, and the Angel civilization is also isolated. As a king who has personally experienced being destroyed by Luther, Morgana knows how terrifying Luther is. Even if she now has the bonus of Demon number 1, she does not want to provoke Luther. His Majesty the God King is not so easy to communicate with. The god of death, Karl, faced Morgana's inquiry and said to her. Nonsense, why should I know that he is not easy to communicate with? Morgana felt that Karl, the god of death, had said nonsense. I mean, he's not easy to communicate with, so don't worry, Morgana, if he wants to attack you, he won't choose to communicate. Death god Karl shook his head and said, you mean he's not touching me now, just because he's too lazy to care about me? Naturally, Morgana was not an elder who had lived for such a long time in vain, and she immediately understood what the god of death, Karl, meant. His Majesty the God King prefers to speak with force rather than words, which is in line with his status as a god of war super gene. Death Karl said, I've been worrying about the queen for so long in vain. Morgana thought of Luther's insistence on what he said, and he would not negotiate with her at all, and said that he would destroy it if he said so, and she said speechlessly. You were misled because you were too scared. After all, he killed you so casually. Death Karl explained, I am not afraid, Queen. Morgana said loudly with bluffing. Yes, Morgana. Death Karl followed suit. Of course, this was just his judgment. Who knows whether Luther will do anything unexpected? No one can restrict a true king. Death Karl finally knew the difference between Holy Kesha and God King Luther. Holy Kesha can be restricted, reasoned with, and used. God King Luther does whatever he wants. He talks to you when he wants to talk, and he kills you when he doesn't want to talk. He is moody and hard to guess. Death Karl feels that he can't see the situation of the known universe clearly now. God King Luther is too variable. If Holy Kesha goes offline, what will God King Luther do? Death God Karl realized the danger of Luther. Even the possibility of the future calculated by the big clock is not optimistic. However, Death God Karl still did not waver in his plan to destroy Holy Kesha. Holy Kesha is still there, and the possibility of the opening of the Void Age is too low. If Holy Kesha goes offline, it is possible that the Void Age will open anyway. Luther didn't expect that just as Karl, the god of death, was sent away by him, Hexy would come from behind. The arrival of the heavenly king of the angelic civilization is truly a splendid sight. Luther looked at he-she who was invited in, and then looked at the clone of he-she in Blue Star, and finally confirmed that this was at least a high-configuration battle doll of the fourth generation of gods. As for whether it was the original body, Luther had no idea. No. Hexy made too many battle dolls, and no one knew whether she was hiding them or not. His Majesty the God King is still so funny. Luther heard that Hezai's words were teasing their first meeting. So, what does the king of angel civilization want to know here? So Luther simply said that if he had something to say, he would leave as soon as possible. This made he-she look at him in surprise. Why am I so annoying? I came to see the God King on the order of Queen Kessa. The queen wants to ask the God King what he wants. Hexy cleared his throat directly and said, "What do you want?" Luther lowered his head slightly, and his eyes fell into shadows, making it difficult for he-she to see his emotions through his eyes. Although in Luther's situation, it is very likely that his eyes will not reveal any emotional flaws. However, the Kamigawa civilization or Kamigawa body is accustomed to looking at each other's eyes and expressions. According to King Tianji, it seems that I am blocking your way. Luther continued. He-she paused. She was not surprised that Luther could see this. The angel's performance was not too obvious. Judging from the information that I have learned now, 5 super divine civilizations, Demon, Angel, Styx, Dino, and Liang, are all here. It seems that I have good luck. When I arrive in the known universe, I can directly entering a critical place. Luther said with a smile. Maybe it's a dangerous place. He-she also laughed. I don't care, Luther said. Queen Kesha has ruled the known universe for tens of thousands of years. That's because there was no king before. Does the God King want to test whether his sword can stay sharp in the known universe? Then it depends on whether there is a suitable scabbard for me to sheath the sword. He-she and Luther exchanged words with each other, seemingly at odds with each other, showing their sharpness and refusing to give in an inch. In fact, he-she already knew what Luther meant. Angels will not retreat, only in the Chiwu star system. He-she said, this platform you have built is intended to turn this Red Crow star system into a testing ground for the gods, a training ground for the new gods, and a purgatory for mortals. Who is your target? Luther asked directly. Of course he knows who he is training for. Jie Shaolun. Is there anyone else? Maybe only Morgana doesn't know. So Morgana just has no brains. The purgatory of mortals is real. With the attitude of this group of civilizations, at least thousands of living things will die on the earth. If the war continues for thousands of years, the population of Blue Star may not exist in 100, or even become the second Kunsa may not be the same. Even the angels felt that it would take at least 100 years to end the war. Ever since the Dino civilization asked Delena to activate the super gene, Blue Star has already become the stage. From God's perspective, he will not care if Blue Star turns into a purgatory, just like the beautiful country will not care if Iraq and Afghanistan turn into a purgatory. Even if Luther didn't care about Blue Star, there would still be things that hurt his feelings. No matter how much you think about it, it's impossible for me to tell you, right? Your Majesty the God King. He-she said. She has expressed her bottom line. The angels only want the Chiwu star system, or in other words, they only want the future of the galaxy power, and they can give into anything else. Demons are also your training tools. Do you plan to accompany the growth of a new god in the Chiwu star system? Luther asked next. He-she looked at Luther with a smile and said nothing. Does Morgana know that she has become a whetstone? Holy Kesha was so frightened that she didn't even dare to stand up, which prevented her from directly attacking those super genes. This super gene must be very important to you angels. Luther didn't care about her, since he had already lost the darts, and now he only needed to draw the target based on the darts. The more he spoke, the more frightened she and the eavesdropping Holy Kessa became. No, how is this possible? As a king, Morgana didn't even see through the things inside. Luther, a god from the fringe space, was able to judge so many things based on so little information, and it was infinitely close to the truth. For gods, competing for genetic resources is nothing new, but it is very new for the angel civilization to continue to do so. Obviously Holy Kesha has used Morgana and the demon civilization as an excuse. Why can he still see it? At first, Holy Kesha had the idea of solving Morgana. Once the trial continues, Morgana will have to rest for thousands of years at least. Now that it is stopped, Holy Kesha has changed her mind. Kesha's concession. Luther saw that she couldn't understand, so he kindly reminded her. Is that why? She raised his eyebrows. I thought you could understand. After all, we are all kings, but now I know that kings are different. Luther shook his head. What's the difference? Hexie was very curious about this. The king will not give in, the king will not tolerate, the king will not compromise. Once something is violated, there is something more important. Holy Kesha is the king of gods in the known universe and the maker of the order of justice. Do you think she would give in to the king of gods in another universe? Luther's logic is self-consistent. After all, his statement is based on the fact that he himself is well-deserved, the only one who is supreme, and the divine power is my king of gods. In this way, the angels would not think that he knew something in advance, but would think that they themselves had made an oversight and ignored a loophole that should not have been ignored. But Kesha's bottom line is this. It's impossible to give up the interests of angelic civilization for some new god. She really thought this now, and he never thought that they would be noticed by Luther because of this. In desperation, she could only say that the angel civilization would not give up the interests of the angel civilization because of super genes. I can understand. After all, I won't do this, but if I... Luther suddenly stood up. She looked at Luther in surprise, and then she seemed to have seen something incredible. Her expression lost control, and she was stunned. What if I am the power of the galaxy? Now the dark data she read on Luther suddenly became incomparably consistent with a certain super gene. Chapter 91. She couldn't believe it. How could it be possible? How could such a thing happen? Have you analyzed the power of the galaxy? She looked at Luther in disbelief and said. She knew very well that the power of the galaxy or the power of the Kamigawa was jointly researched by their angels and the super seminary. There was no power of the Kamigawa other than them. Not to mention, Luther showed off the super gene that changes the power of the galaxy in front of her. This shows that Luther's own super gene is not the power of the galaxy, but he can become the power of the galaxy. You're in big trouble, man. Absolutely. This super gene is very interesting. It seems to be able to create things from the void, so I will naturally analyze and collect it. Luther said calmly. However, she felt that it was unfathomable. How did you bypass the permissions? Hexie asked directly. Angel's biggest trump card and most important thing has been mastered, and there is no point in continuing to persist. What Hexie wants to find out more is how Luther or the Kryptonian civilization can unlock the super god the Academy and the Angel civilization gave the power of Kamigawa gene locks and permission restrictions. This is impossible. If it can be circumvented, it is impossible for the man to not discover it. Even if the big clock wants to be unlocked by force, the sacred knowledge treasure trove will still be able to find clues. I don't need to go around it, I just need to untie it. Luther said. Are you unlocked? She was even more unbelievable. He unlocked it, but the man-in-law didn't react. In other words, she didn't notice. This matter seems a bit incomprehensible to you, but it is a normal thing for me. The brain development rate of my super gene and supreme wisdom is more than 90%. According to me, from the information on the dark plane of the known universe, your angel's brain development is only 45%. Luther's words had a kind of condescension. Your known universe has not even experienced an explosion of intelligence. The civilization here can only rely on super genes, but our Kryptonian civilization develops and evolves super genes in parallel with the brain. Even without super genes, we still have evolved brains. Deal with the enemy. After hearing these words from Luther, she already had a rough idea of the current height of Kryptonian civilization. In the past physical war, the triangle that made the Kamigawa body feared. It only takes 3,000 years for the triangular body to catch up with the brain development that took angels 100,000 years to develop. And the triangular body can perform various operations with its evolved brain and the observed 6 primary colors. Not much worse than the super gene of the Kamigawa body. Hexie couldn't imagine what it was like to have a brain development rate of over 90%. The 3,000 years of evolution of the triangle alone were enough to threaten the Kamigawa body. After the Kamigawa body won the war, it started the Kamigawa Star Network Project, which is the concept of seeding the Divine River body and Divine River body throughout the universe. Completely attack and suppress the beast body and the triangle body. In Hizai's view, it is normal for Luther to have such a superior and overlooking posture. With such a highly developed brain, they are basically 2 species, just like sapiens and modern humans. Luther may not look at them as he looks at primitive people. In this case, what confidence do they have to maintain the arrogance of the King of Gods in the known universe in front of Luther? Supreme Intelligence Super Gene. Hexie remembered the name. Angels have one more choice, isn't it good? Luther said calmly, he is the one who has the initiative now. As soon as the power of the galaxy came out, it sees the future of the angels. Moreover, the angels don't know whether Luther will take action against Jie Shaolun, and how he obtained the power of the galaxy. She could not guess what a brain development rate of more than 90% could achieve. After all, neither the Sacred Knowledge Treasury nor the Big Clock could predict that the brain development rate would reach this level. It can even be said that Luther's brain may have surpassed the Big Clock, and he himself is a supercomputer that surpasses the Big Clock. It is simply unimaginable that there are such terrifying and advanced supergenes in the unknown universe on the edge of space. Could it be that the angels have been sitting in the well and looking at the sky for too long? War is the cornerstone of technological progress. Your known universe has been peaceful for too long, but our dark universe has been at constant war. Of course Luther couldn't follow the trend and say that he was in the edge space and the unknown universe, so he quoted the darkness in the law of the dark forest. Hexie naturally knows what the dark universe means. War. Hexie couldn't refute this. Under the rule of Holy Kesha, the known universe had not seen large-scale wars for tens of thousands of years. As for the war between angels and demons, it was just a catfish effect. Use it to stimulate the angels and not lose their fighting spirit. I can't make the decision on this matter. I will go back and tell Queen Keisha. She said to Luther. Please. Luther nodded slightly. Hexie then left. She immediately passed the secret message of the entire conversation and meeting to Holy Kesha. Holy Kesha's reading speed was also very fast. After a few seconds, Holy Kesha came to communicate. Are you sure it's the power of the galaxy? Holy Kesha's voice was filled with doubt. Yes, and it seems that all the permissions have been released. He is not hiding anything. She replied. The technology of the edge space has advanced to this level. The brain area development has reached more than 90%, and the super gene can still change, or be compatible with other super genes. Saint Kesha believes in her bestie's judgment, but because of this, she feels bad now. The future of angels is now in the hands of others. And she has to be careful that Jie Shaolun will not be solved by Luther. It should be a super gene compatible with the power of the galaxy. She felt that no matter what, it is impossible to have a super gene that can change at will. That's too outrageous. He said he unlocked the authority, didn't you find it? She asked Holy Kesha in surprise. No, with that level of brain area development, it's not strange to be able to do anything. The edge space. No, now it's said that the dark universe may have exceeded our imagination. Saint Kesha had checked the data of the Holy Knowledge Treasury when she read the dark information just now, but everything was normal. She had no idea how Luther unlocked the power of the galaxy. Also, has the most important and core gene lock of the power of the galaxy been unlocked? That was the last lock that the Shinhei civilization set for its own Shinhei power. The power of Kamigawa is not a product of Devon Star. The original plot contains a book called Overview of the Kamigawa Sequence, written by Ding He. This shows that the genetic research on the power of Kamigawa was already in existence when the Kamigawa civilization existed. Later, it was just Kirin who brought it to the Angel civilization, large processing, and Dino civilization, minor transformation, there for further processing and transformation. The book talks about 3 types of super sequences: harmonious recessive, genetic recessive and damage recessive. However, Zhe Xiaolun does have many sequences that have not yet been activated. This shows how high Xiaolun's upper limit is. No wonder, this is a setting created by the two oldest civilizations in the world, how can it not be awesome? Ding He, the greatest scientist of the Kamigawa civilization. It can be considered that he presided over the construction of the big clock. His identity is equivalent to the teacher of the space principle, and the ancestor of Carl. When the Kamigawa civilization was destroyed, he disappeared together with the civilization. Kirin once tried to resurrect the teacher, but failed. Of course, the power of Kamigawa is definitely not as good as the power of Galaxy. Keisha said that the power of the Galaxy is a bit higher than the power of Kamigawa they originally expected. However, Holy Kesha and the others did not decrypt the last lock because it was too difficult. She frowned. I don't know. The information I can read is all open to me by him. I used to be curious about how he completely prohibited others from reading his dark data. Now I'm afraid it's his super genetic technology that suppresses us. Quote. Didn't he also trade super gene engine technology with you? Holy Kesha asked. Maybe they want to see how far our technology has reached. Or maybe their super gene technology is different from ours, so they plan to study it, but the possibility that their super gene technology is not as good as ours is too low. This is the result calculated by Hexie's space-based system. She herself feels that it is impossible for the dark universe to not have super genetic technology. After all, when they first met, Luther showed his ability to prohibit her from reading information from the dark plane. At that time, she thought it was the ability of some special primitive super gene. Then do you think we should kneel down and lick him? Holy Kesha said with a smile. One is a grown-up god, and the other is a new god who is still playing house. I don't think you will choose him. She said calmly. It is impossible for a normal person to choose Luther, because he is too powerful and has grown up and does not need help. So what is the significance of angels to him? Things that have no help or meaning are just worthless things that I scraped together. When the time comes, you can't blame others for being abandoned casually. Holy Kesha and she were both confident and felt that the angels had plenty of time to wait for the power of the galaxy to grow. They had no idea that Luther had seen the future and had no intention of intervening in the future. He just gave she away again. Otherwise, if he took action to destroy Holy Kesha himself, it would be strange if the little skirts didn't hate him. How could they come to seek refuge with him? And Lena, Luther's attitude towards Liang civilization is to just wait and see them commit suicide. Pan Zhen felt that he was awesome, and the Liang civilization was also awesome. After destroying the Holy Kesha, the god of death, Carl, used the void engines and warriors developed by the void particles obtained from blasting the black hole to destroy the Liang civilization. Naturally, it is to get the light of the sun so that he can continue to explode black holes. They feel that they only need to protect the power of the galaxy and not let the Kryptonian civilization, which now knows the importance of the power of the galaxy to the angels, take action against the power of the galaxy. Then the angel civilization does not need to choose the Kryptonian civilization. If a fight really breaks out, the angel civilization is actually not afraid of the Kryptonian civilization. The information she brought back was horrifying, but the scene that Holy Kesha faced when she overthrew Yi was even more horrifying and despairing, but she still succeeded. What about Kryptonian civilization? Hexie asked. Can you control him? Holy Kesha asked with a smile. Why don't you do it yourself? Your status and strength are worthy of him anyway, so you might as well control him. She said. Tens of thousands of years ago, we experienced a darker and more desperate period. That time has passed, let alone now. Holy Kesha then said, do you need me to gather all the retired angels? She has stored an unknown amount of materials and resources, enough to replace all the retired old angels. Otherwise, you really think that angels have become the overlord of the known universe for so many years just to make ends meet? They have never fought such a rich war. No need, Kryptonian civilization has no army to invade. Holy Kesha said. Hexie recalled that he seemed to have seen a few people in the supreme heaven. Although those people were ridiculously strong, they were either gods or third-generation super warriors, or even third-generation super warriors who had reached the standard of demigod. That is, angels per capita. Moreover, they are much better armed than Angel Yan. If they really fight, Angel Yan will lose more than he wins one-on-one, and he will definitely die in 1 against 2. The Kryptonian civilization is also very wealthy, that's right. If it were not wealthy, how could it be possible to be worthy of the status of the overlord of the dark universe and the king of the gods without this family background? Those 10 third-generation gods of war are all equipped with top-level god-killing power, and their weapons are also top-notch. Although she can come up with similar things and can directly create 33rd-generation gods, it is unknown whether he can win. The power of killing gods is too variable, it is the most unreasonable, and it is also the easiest force to defeat the strong with the weak. The Kryptonian civilization must have an army, but is it probably still in the dark universe? She also didn't wonder why Luther entered the known universe without bringing his own army, just like the man came here by himself without bringing his own army. There may not be any high-level guarding angels left this time. She went on to say, facing the power of killing gods, no one can say that they can win surely. There may not be a fight. Holy Kesha has her own opinions and judgments. But we still have to be careful of that guy taking action against the power of the galaxy. Holy Kesha had a headache. At this time, Morgana also had a headache. My god wants to see you. The arrogant black-armored and black-winged god of war chopped down several of her generals as soon as she came in. The god-killing power made her dare not act rashly. Although the god-killing power could not destroy the 4th-generation divine body, the pain More importantly, she knew who was standing behind this guy. What does that guy think I am, that I can come and go at a moment's notice? Morgana snorted coldly. Isn't it? The black-armored and black-winged god of war said with a smile. Of course it is impossible for Morgana to go to see Luther. This guy is targeting her for no reason. If she goes, there is a high probability that she will be killed. Luther expressed regret that Morgana had learned well. He still liked Morgana's unruly look before, so he would have a reason to kill Morgana. Of course, Luther would kill Morgana even if there was no reason. Now that Morgana is so cowardly, Luther has no choice but to let the past god of war act as a temporary communicator. I heard that you are going to take action against Holy Kesha. Luther asked. What did grandson Karl tell you? Morgana wanted to be violent, but in front of Luther, she endured it. The main reason was that Luther would not care about her being violent like the god of death Karl and Holy Kesha, nor would he be like those who wanted to care about her. The person she yelled at couldn't do anything to her. Luther really knows how to calculate, and he can kill her people. Yes, but he is too insincere. He is just a projection. Luther said. Morgana wanted to say that it was lucky that Karl, the god of death, did not come in his true form. I heard that snow had been destroyed. Yes, Morgana said. You don't need to be so formal. Both I and you know who you are. Now I am very interested in your plan and plan to provide you with some help. What do you think? Luther said with a smile. How to see it, how else to see it? Morgana didn't know what Luther wanted to do for a moment. She was unable to communicate and couldn't communicate before, but now she suddenly can do it again. If it is said that she suffered a loss, it doesn't look like it. It was Holy Kesha who took the initiative to give in. Everyone felt that it was Holy Kesha who suffered a loss. If she gives in like this, the prestige of the angelic civilization will probably be lost. What do you want? Morgana felt that it would be best to ask Luther clearly about his needs first, and then discuss it with Karl, the god of death. In this case, at least they can prevent Luther from turning his back on him again. Although, Morgana was helpless to find that even if they tried to avoid it, if Luther really wanted to turn his back on him, she would not be able to do anything about it. It's so frustrating. This queen is the demon queen Morgana. The most terrifying evil god in the known universe. It's very simple. I want you to target the power of the galaxy and destroy it, or use your devil's specialty to pollute it. Luther said calmly. Galactic power. Morgana did not expect this request. After thinking about it, the power of the galaxy seemed to be nothing now, just a new god who had not yet grown up. Of course she is reluctant to destroy the power of the galaxy. Seizing genetic resources is a need for all civilizations, so Morgana must turn the power of the galaxy into her own. Don't you have a nightmare subordinate who uses spiritual attacks to hypnotize and define his thinking? Luther continued. Morgana had no intention of destroying the power of the galaxy, but after Luther said so, she was successfully led astray and thought this was a good idea. Galaxy Force is still just a person who has just awakened the super soldier gene, and is the easiest to be brainwashed. By the way, I would like to remind you that the angelic civilization values the power of the galaxy very much, even more than their future new king. For them, the power of the galaxy is their future. Luther continued. He was very curious about what the plot of a darkened Jie Shaolun would be like, but it wouldn't matter if Jie Shaolun turned dark. The angel might not give up on Jie Shaolun, so he had to let Jie Shaolun turn dark more completely. Angel's future. Morgana didn't expect that there was such a thing. If that was the case, then she would do it even more. So, what help can you provide? Your Majesty the God King. Morgana continued. I will pay you according to your needs. I have given you a good super gene and reminded you of information you don't have. Don't you think you should be the one to pay me? Luther said this. It was obvious that he planned to prostitute Morgana for free. Morgana has been prostituted for free from the god of death Karl's things. When she heard Luther's words, she didn't need a supercomputer to translate them. She already knew what Luther was thinking. What does the God King want? Morgana was very serious when she was serious, such as during the meeting of the gods, so she was silent for a moment, swallowed the foul language she was about to blurt out, and said to Luther. Forget it, I am in a good mood, so I will give this information to you for free. Of course, you have to act quickly. The angels will probably strengthen their surveillance and protection of the galaxy power because of me. Luther said with a smile. What's the use of angels strengthening protection and surveillance? Queen, Morgana wanted to say something, but she quickly stopped. Oh, I chopped off a peak beast body before. The peak beast body in the known universe is not very good. I was too lazy to restore it, so I gave it to the Demon Queen. Of course Luther could guess what Morgana wanted to say. High-level guarding angels are very difficult, but now a holy right wing is on the side of the god of death, Karl, and a holy left wing is about to be transferred by Morgana. The remaining angels except aside from Angel Leng being a bit tricky, who else can stop her from getting the power of the galaxy? That is obviously my peak beast body, the Queen. Morgana wanted to say this, but now that Luther has returned the peak beast body, Morgana definitely wants it. So she couldn't say anything. Luther threw a pile of minced meat to her, which was indeed not easy to recover, but Morgana now had the support of the god of death Karl, and she had plenty of money, so she didn't care. Instead, she thought it was not bad, getting a peak beast body as a general. For Morgana, who had never seen much of the world, the peak beast body was a general. After all, it was the peak state that the beast civilization could evolve to during the physical war. Without super genes, it could evolve to the level comparable to the third-generation warriors and the third-generation gods. It is conceivable how glorious the beast civilization was at the time, and so Tone was created by the god of death Karl based on the information left by the Pengu civilization. Luther studied the peak beast body and felt that if the beast body continued to evolve, maybe the fourth-generation beast body would be able to ignore the dark silver weapon, and even the flame bombing would not be able to hurt the fourth-generation beast body. But it didn't mean much to him. The starting point of the Kryptonians was too high, and they started directly with the strength of the fourth-generation beast body. Now, the supernova explosion was probably like a breeze to Luther. Of course, the fourth-generation beast body is still very good. At the very least, it is much easier to mass-produce than the fourth-generation divine body. It just doesn't have as many abilities and equipment as the fourth-generation divine body. The king has given it to you, and I have also given you the information. Queen Morgana will not let me down, right? Luther said. Of course not. Morgana herself didn't know how to lose. She got a peak beast general. She was still worried about what she would do if she sent Otto out, even if she collected a lot of mutated demons to serve as second-generation warriors. He is even a third-generation warrior, but compared with high-level guarding angels, he is still a little behind. There may not be such a gap after Holy Kesha went offline, but before she went offline, she was not surprised that a high-level guardian angel could defeat several mutant demons. These guys rely entirely on instinct to use super genes, and they have never experienced a war between gods and gods, or between super soldiers. Even if they are allowed to learn now, their chaotic brains will not be able to learn much. This is also the reason why every time there is a war, the mutated demons that Morgana worked so hard to recruit will die completely. The demon warriors who are good at fighting have died so many times, and their entire army is still wiped out, not to mention these are nothing. A mutated demon in the brain. Now it's better, with one more peak beast body, it can involve several high-level guarding angels. Coupled with those mutant demon cannon fodder and a lot of little demons and demon warriors who are secretly shooting, it is not a problem to hold down the high-level guarding angels under Holy Kesha. It will be a king versus king situation. After the two of them finished chatting, the god of war left directly. Morgana looked at the god of war thoughtfully. I don't know why, but Morgana always feels that this god of war is a bit similar to the god of war of Nuoxing. It's not about appearance, it's about genetic information, but Morgana quickly ruled out this possibility. Now she is busy. Haifeng, where did you die? Come to me quickly, Queen. Morgana said. After a while, Black Wind came over. Queen Morgana, I'm busy editing the dreams of Delana and Cheng Yaoan. What's wrong? Black Wind asked. What else can I do to find you? From today on, I will add one more partner, Jie Shaolun, the power of the galaxy. Queen, no matter what method you use, make him betray his camp, hate the angels, and join us devils. Morgana said impatiently. Ah, is it necessary? Black Wind scratched its head. It was already very busy. Don't think that editing dreams is easy. This kind of mental invasion is very energy consuming, although Black Wind also likes to do this, but if it increases the workload out of thin air, how will it arrange its time? Of course it is necessary. This kid is the future of angelic civilization, and is more important than Anizid. The reason is that he is the last god-making project of the space principle. He may have cracked the ultimate fear and subverted the dark world on a small scale. Transformation constant theory. In other words, he will become the most advanced god in the future. Morgana is not a fool and will not believe whatever Luther says. She has to figure out why Jie Shaolun is the future of angel civilization. After the technical analysis and investigation, Morgana was shocked. It cracked the ultimate fear she had always been afraid of, and was able to subvert the theory of constant dark transformation on a small scale. No wonder the angel civilization felt that the power of the galaxy was their future. After Morgana found out, she felt that the power of the galaxy would be the future of demon civilization in the future, not the angel civilization. Morgana is very confident about the ability of demons to corrupt people, and the highest level of gods cannot be grown in a short time. She has a lot of time after the curtain call of Holy Kesha. However, this kind of work should of course start now, the sooner the better. The power of the galaxy will become the highest god. I understand, Queen. Black Wind was surprised, and then said quickly. It feels very challenging and exciting. This is the most advanced god in the future, and it is also the hope and future of the angelic civilization. If it can lure him to fall, it will be considered an achievement. Haifeng planned to think carefully about how to arrange this dream and investigate Jie Shaolun's information. The Grand Canyon. The people in the Shangbing Company were worried about the conditions of Delana and Cheng Yaoan. There seems to be something wrong between the two of them recently. Cheng Yaoan and Delana have said in public more than once that they want to kill each other. In the eyes of the rest of the Shangbing Company, it was just because they were inexplicable that they wanted to kill each other because they had nightmares. Isn't it too outrageous and ridiculous? But one wave after another, the Super Seminary has not yet investigated the situation of Cheng Yaoan and Delana. Jie Shaolun and Du Qiangwei have problems again. The two of them were also troubled by nightmares. In the nightmare, Jie Shaolun dreamed that Du Qiangwei abandoned him and the Shangbing Company and joined the demonic civilization. Jie Shaolun was unwilling to give up and wanted to recover Du Qiangwei. Then Demon Queen Morgana said that as long as he joined the demon civilization, he would not harm Lan Xing and Du Qiangwei. For the sake of the person he liked, Jie Shaolun didn't think too much, or in other words, Haifeng just gave him a little guidance, and Jie Shaolun joined the demon civilization on his own. This makes Haifeng feel that there is no difficulty at all. Is that all? Is this the most advanced god in the future? The next step is to deepen Jie Shaolun's impression of the demon civilization. Under the control of Black Wind, the demon civilization has become a very good environment, and the angel civilization has become hateful. Especially when the angel civilization came to the Grand Canyon before, its arrogant and tense momentum made Zhe Xiaolun have a bad impression of the angels. So in the dream, Angel Yan wantonly slaughtered the demon warriors, tortured Du Qiangwei, and even stood in front of Zhe Xiaolun. He killed Du Qiangwei in front of him. No, Zhe Xiaolun woke up from his dream, and Zhao Xin was woken up by him. What's wrong, Xiaolun? Just as Zhao Xin finished speaking, the next moment Cheng Yaoan also shouted and woke up. This made Xin Zhao feel overwhelmed. I had a nightmare. Zhe Xiaolun said tremblingly. In front of him, Du Qiangwei was stepped on by Angel Yan, a domineering angel, and then the flaming sword penetrated Du Qiangwei's body. Zhe Xiaolun only felt extremely painful in his heart, and then burst out. Developed unconscious anti-void ability. Now on Devil number 1's side, Black Wind was rolling on the ground in pain. I also had a nightmare. Cheng Yaoan followed. That's weird. Is the feng shui in the dormitory bad? Xin Zhao thought about it for a moment and then said. This thing is mobile, how can it have a feng shui direction? Zhe Xiaolun complained that Juxia is not a fixed house, so there is no feng shui direction that can be determined. Although it was just a nightmare, Zhe Xiaolun still felt lingering fear. Zhe Xiaolun could not imagine or accept the fact that Du Qiangwei died in front of him. Just thinking about it is scary, not to mention that he still hasn't come to his senses. Angel Yan. Zhe Xiaolun murmured the name. On the other side, the original plot did not happen, but now because of the addition of Luther and the Kryptonian civilization, when the angels monitored Zhe Xiaolun, they discovered that Zhe Xiaolun was troubled and invaded by nightmares. Is Morgana's nightmare invasion a spiritual attack method? Holy Keisha is thoughtful. Morgana is also eyeing the power of the galaxy. No, she, an idiot, doesn't know the importance of galactic power to angelic civilization. Queen, in addition to the galactic power Zhe Xiaolun, the Sun's Light Emperor Lina and the Earth's Heart Cheng Yaoan have records of being invaded by nightmares. Do we want to intervene? Angel Yan asked Holy Kesha. She was worried that the power of the galaxy would be affected by Morgana. You must know that Morgana's mind implantation method is not much worse than that of angels, and angels rarely use mind implantation on other people. Enter. Don't worry, Yan. The lowest gene of galaxy power is blocked by technology left by the Shenhe civilization. Thought implantation will not affect him. Holy Kesha said. Of course, even if it is affected, Holy Kesha will not care. In her opinion, these are the training that the power of the galaxy should go through. If you want to become the most advanced supreme god, of course you have to go through something different, ordeal. His life is destined to be extraordinary. Only a god who grows up in this way can become a hope instead of becoming a demon controlled by desire. Genetic model is one thing, whether it can grow is another, everyone knows it. Some things are bound to happen, and what Holy Kesha needs is for what happens to stay within the original plan. Yes, Queen Keisha. Angel Yan was naturally convinced by the words of Holy Kesha. Ever since, Zhe Xiaolun had nightmares every day without anyone taking care of them, and he gradually realized the pain of Cheng Yaoan and Di Lena. They can no longer distinguish between dreams and reality. Zhe Xiaolun is even worse. He has been tortured to the point of having hysterical emotions towards angels. He and Du Qiangwei joined the demon civilization in order to protect the blue star that was destroyed by the war. Then the demon queen Morgana of the demon civilization announced that she would protect the blue star, but the angels came to expel the demon civilization. They clearly didn't show up when the war started, so why did they hinder Blue Star who was protecting him? Especially Angel Yan, whose arrogant look was disgusting, but Zhe Xiaolun discovered that even if he unleashed his potential and killed Angel Yan, there would still be other angels who would kill Du Qiangwei. Devils deserve to die. Angels are just. Zhe Xiaolun, you and Du Qiangwei have gone astray, so we angels will judge you. If you don't stand on the side of justice, you will die. Nightmares one after another gradually gave Zhe Xiaolun a ridiculous idea. Accept the devil and kill all the angels. Haifeng, how's it going? Morgana asked about the progress. Both Di Lena and Cheng Yaoan can no longer distinguish between reality and dreams. In other words, they have collapsed and the implantation of malicious thoughts has been completed. As for Zhe Xiaolun, he has fallen much faster than I imagined. Queen, can you really become the highest god? He Feng was a little doubtful about life. It was just that Zhe Xiaolun experienced the scenes of brotherly respect, harmony and beauty, brotherly unity, and the gentle and considerate queen in the demon civilization. Coupled with the angel killing Du Qiangwei, Zhe Xiaolun quickly fell. After it discovered this, it let the angels kill the demon, Du Qiangwei and the queen every time. Morgana almost had to cut it again, but for the sake of the plan, Morgana endured it. Of course, this is Angel's future and hope, but he has fallen in love with Du Qiangwei. Tisk tisk tisk. Holy Kesha, bitch's favorite thing is to let her group of roast chickens seduce men all over the universe. This time let's see how her men hook up with the power of the galaxy. Morgana was so happy that the power of the galaxy actually loved Du Qiangwei deeply. When the angel killed Du Qiangwei, the power of the galaxy was particularly active and almost hurt Black Wind again. Black Wind almost died last time. It didn't expect that its anti-void ability was so terrifying, and it almost died in the field it was best at. Later, He Feng carefully weaved a dream, more to stimulate than to make Zhe Xiaolun explode. It knows very well how to influence a person subtly, just like Du Qiangwei changed in the later period. The method of extorting favors was indeed very targeted at people like Du Qiangwei, not to mention Zhe Xiaolun. In just a few days, He Feng had already figured out what kind of person he was. Don't worry, Queen, now every angel has killed Du Qiangwei in front of Zhe Xiaolun. Zhe Xiaolun killed the angels crazily every time, but still couldn't save Du Qiangwei. Now he has gone completely crazy. I guess he can see it in reality. Angels will also pounce on them and kill them. Hai Feng said as if he was taking credit. Well done. Now this naughty boy belongs to me, the queen. Morgana said with satisfaction. But Queen, Zhe Xiaolun doesn't seem to know how to develop his galaxy power ability. Black Wind reminded. It's okay, he can't do it. Queen, can't I do it? Morgana said nonchalantly, completely unaware that the void engine sword in Zhe Xiaolun's hand had been replaced by Luther. If Zhe Xiaolun is not unlocked now, he will not use his anti-void ability at all. The angels are making big moves. That fool Kesha has transferred a few floating islands. No armed forces have been detected yet. There are nearly 100 angels coming. I just don't know if they are coming for us or the Kryptonian civilization. Morgana is very troubled when talking about the current situation. The angels are staying in the outer orbit and are probably determined to wait for Morgana. This also makes Morgana unable to do many things. In such a vicious cycle, Morgana is even more unhappy with Holy Kesha. Hundreds of angels. Hai Feng was shocked. If that's the case, then their military strength will not have an advantage. After all, hundreds of angels are enough to kill all the mutant demon cannon fodders gathered by Morgana at this time. So controlling Zhe Xiaolun will be of great help to us. Maybe he can help us destroy Holy Kesha. At that time, he will destroy Holy Kesha. Even if he doesn't want to surrender to the queen, he can't go to the angel civilization. Morgana said proudly. Of course, she will never let go. After destroying Holy Kesha, she will start to completely transform the galactic force into her own warrior. I didn't expect that Zhe Xiaolun would be spoiled so quickly. Luther read the entire Dark Plane information, which was equivalent to watching the process of the demon civilization and Zhe Xiaolun. This left Luther speechless, but it seemed to be normal. Zhe Xiaolun originally had poor willpower, and with the infatuation gene, Du Qiangwei joined the demon civilization, and then had the reputation of protecting the earth with the help of demon civilization. Exist. Zhe Xiaolun must have followed suit. Of course, Zhe Xiaolun did not do this in reality, but now the demonic civilization has subtly influenced Zhe Xiaolun, making Zhe Xiaolun have bad angels. When he sees an angel, he wants to go up and kill the other person's subconscious, and the demonic civilization has a negative influence on him. Good. There is also his happy life with Du Qiangwei on the Devil Number 1, where lovers eventually get married. I have to say that Hai Feng is really good at playing, first rising and then suppressing. Without that period of happy life, Zhe Xiaolun would not have gone so completely crazy. With the addition of Zhe Xiaolun, the angels will definitely suffer heavy casualties. Luther held a moment of silence for the following angels. But they could be resurrected later anyway, so Luther did not observe silence for long. Zhe Shaolun still has no way to exert his genetic ability, but just a silence can subvert the dark energy and make all the angels lose control. In the original plot, Angel Yan was restricted by the dark energy, and was suddenly defeated by the sword demon Atuo. Counterattack. Otherwise, even if Holy Kesha is disconnected, Angel Yan can still compete with the sword demon Atuo. Grand Canyon, secret meeting. The 3 permanent members of the United Nations are discussing via video conference. The situation in the beautiful country is not good. Now they can only hide in the Pacific Ocean because there are too many demons and too many gluttons. Please see, about half a month ago, we observed a large number of black spots appearing in the outer reaches of the solar system. They slowly surrounded the entire solar system in a way that violated the motion of celestial bodies. After we zoomed in on the image through the super satellite, it is certain that they are spaceships. Hearing this, everyone present had unhappy expressions. Is it the spaceship of the Teoti civilization? One of the people with a hooked nose asked. Yes, judging from the shape of the images, they are consistent with the spacecraft of the Teoti civilization that once appeared on the Blue Star and are still invading and destroying it now, including Grand Cross ships, battleships, and floating gunboats. Our existing observation methods and technologies, their exact location cannot be detected. Technicians enlarged the picture. Currently we can only judge their situation based on limited images. They don't seem to be continuing to move forward, but are establishing a front line. As for their number, the number of warships we observed alone is more than 300. This number gave everyone present a headache. Not to mention the larger warships, the large cross ships and floating gunboats alone were difficult for them to deal with, and the battle loss ratio reached 100 or more. The beautiful country has lost most of its wealth, and even the Haters Alliance is gone. Hearing that there were so many alien fleets watching eagerly, they all felt that Blue Star might not be doomed. Are they afraid of the Shangbing Company? The representative of the Celestial Dynasty asked in confusion, what is the point of setting up a front in the universe? It looked like he was afraid of something. No, according to the active detection reports of the Teoti civilization, they are afraid of the greatest evil in the known universe, the demon Queen Morgana and her extremely evil civilization, the demon civilization, as well as the mysterious Krypton with unknown attitudes. Civilization, and angelic civilization. Du Sao replied, how could the Shangbing Company be the object of fear of the Teoti civilization? The Battle of Tianhe has already concluded. The Shangbing Company could not defeat several large cross ships even after exhausting their efforts. If it were not for the special abilities of Di Lena and Du Qiangwei, the Shangbing Company is probably gone. The representatives of Blue Star didn't look very good looking, and they had to rely on the intimidation of others to prevent the army of the Teoti civilization from coming. But now, compared with the fleets in the universe, the Teoti civilization on Blue Star seems like a small fight. However, even such a small fight is not something humans can bear. It is unimaginable that if the fleet of the Teoti civilization comes, it will probably be a disaster for mankind. The meeting ended hastily. The beautiful country repeatedly asked China to disclose the super genetic technology of Shangbinglian. Now at the time of human survival, China should not be so selfish. Tianchao didn't bother to pay attention and refused politely. HMPH, I knew the people of China were unreliable. After the people from beautiful country ended the video conference, they said to their subordinates. So, join Queen Morgana's command. Sir, Queen Morgana can protect us and give us eternal life. Quote. In this current environment, can't we catch up with the angel civilization? No, the angelic civilization is not the God we believe in, and the city of Holy Lord has replaced God with the angel queen, but they have not received the protection of angels, and the city of Holy Lord has now become a land of demons. Quote. Where's the Kryptonian civilization, that powerful God King? Kryptonian civilization is even harder to contact. We don't even know where they are. Quote. If this is the case, then I have no choice. I hope the citizens of the beautiful country can forgive my decision. The beautiful country does not want to perish like this. After all, it is a joint stock company disguised as a country. It is not surprising that there will be gangsters. They are capitalist countries and profit supremacists. There is no point in the floating island that Holy Kesha transferred to. Next, we have to watch the growth of the power of the galaxy here, so of course there must be a good place to watch. Hundreds of angel guards and soldiers are used to prevent the Kryptonian civilization from having any ideas, in other words, to keep track of it. Yan, Morgana dropped a demon warrior on Fraser, you go and destroy it. Holy Kesha suddenly said to Angel Yan. Naturally, Morgana's actions cannot be hidden from Holy Kesha. Yes, Queen. Angel Yan realized that Morgana planned to take action against Anizid, and he didn't know whether to kill Enixid or to use Enixid to draw the angel's attention. It is your old rival, Sword Demon Atuo, Morgana's general and a third-generation warrior. Be careful. Holy Kesha warned Angel Yan. This time she did not let Jie Shaolun, the force of the galaxy, follow her to cultivate feelings because she read Jie Shaolun's dark plane information. Now Jie Shaolun should hate angels and have murderous intentions towards angels. But it doesn't matter, for Holy Kesha, it's just a lost opportunity to cultivate feelings. There are plenty of opportunities like this ahead. They have plenty of time. Luther knew the news that Angel Yan was leaving for Fraser. In order to hold Angel Yan back, the sword demon Atuo would not show up at first. It would only appear after Holy Kesha went offline. Even if the divine body is achieved, there is nothing special about the divine body of the demon civilization. It may be better at transporting wormholes, but it is simply impossible to be Angel Yan's opponent. Finally, we have waited for this time, waiting for the party's victory. Luther said, considering that there will be wars with the Triangle Civilization, the Sky Slag Legion, the Gluttonous Civilization, the Giant Wolf Civilization under the command of the God of Death, Karl, and other civilizations. Luther is now working on producing the god-killing power that belongs to the Kryptonian civilization. After understanding what the god-killing power is and its technology, mass production will not be a problem. And there is no need to rely on god-killing weapons to exert the god-killing power like the god-killing power of Promise Star. Now the Kryptonian vanguard soldiers with silver armor and silver wings created by Luther are all genetically equipped with god-killing power. Power, the super gene engine can drive the power of killing gods. This allows them to add god-killing power even if they don't have god-killing weapons in their hands, displaying terrifying destructive power and pertinence. All of them are third-generation super warriors. The ones with golden armor and golden wings have also been strengthened and upgraded, becoming third-generation divine bodies, not to mention the god-killing power, peak beast body, invincible body and god-killing martial arts. As for the original 10 Noxian gods of war, they remained unchanged. Luther recreated 2 void warriors. These 2 void warriors both use a large amount of void matter as the core of the void engine. Although it is not as high as the energy level of void particles, it is definitely stronger than Howl. Anyway, Holy Kesha will be coming to an end soon, and the void warrior no longer needs to hide. The world of Super Seminary is really outrageous. Black hole algorithms can be developed. This is the key to the black hole engine. Even Luther himself built a black hole engine. Study black holes, use supercomputers to calculate the formation of black holes, and then write algorithms, just like superpower algorithms. However, the algorithm of the black hole engine is too complex, and ordinary supercomputers and even celestial supercomputers cannot do it. According to Luther, it only took him less than a day from calculation to completion. This super brain is also very useful. His void engine is fully configured, and there are simply too many void particles to use up. Even if the deformed void particles consume more energy than anything else, Luther can recover more energy with one breath, so his void engine is also incredibly functional. If the god of death, Karl, does not have more advanced void technology, then this black hole engine that combines the anti-void ability of the galaxy power with the void technology of the void engine sword of the super seminary and the secondary biological engine technology of the angel will be the super seminary. The most powerful void engine ever created. A full 500 frequency high-frequency black hole engine. If you include Luther's own biomass computer engine and super brain, it's impossible to calculate. At least with this black hole engine, Luther already has the ability to completely explode the computing power of large clocks. It's just that Luther doesn't know how to exercise and train his super brain. Humans have developed various methods for exercising the brain and training the way of thinking. The super brain is now in a completely primitive state. Luther has tried to use human methods to train the brain. exercise, but the effect is average. The super brain adapts to these methods in almost microseconds, which means that even Yidwiti cannot touch the potential of the super brain. Black hole engine program activated. The black hole engine has additional black hole drive algorithm, additional void controller, additional anti-void ability, super defined matter, super concept rewriter, super space definition, super gene rewrite definition. Black hole driving algorithm. Simulated black holes, miniature atomic black holes, medium-sized massive black holes, large supermassive black holes, galaxy-level black holes, the ultimate trick black hole incarnation. Luther felt the changes in his body instantly. His body itself was the most powerful body with unlimited potential. However, the Kryptonian gene and the Doomsday gene are both castrated versions. If you get the code of life, you may be able to make up for the defects of your own genes and go further. However, this is impossible, so now he has worked hard to research it. Black hole engine. The super gene definition function is activated. Start detecting the target. The target belongs to the Kryptonian civilization life form. It is an advanced fourth-generation divine body shell. It comes with the Doomsday super gene, the legendary Super Saiyan super gene, the mutated Kryptonian super gene, the Galaxy Power super gene, and the Nox Star Ares super gene. Starting to analyze the target gene structure. The solution is extremely difficult. Please apply for super brain computing power support. The application was successful, redefining and rewriting the target super gene. Defined as completing the Doomsday super gene, completing the Kryptonian super gene, and completing the legendary Super Saiyan gene. Rewritten as 3 super genes fused into the super-destroying Kryptonian gene. Luther issued 2 consecutive command procedures. Complete and rewritten in progress, progress 0.00001%. Then the progress got stuck there. No way, can this be stuck? Luther pondered. He didn't know how difficult this thing was, but the computing power of the super brain was still stuck there, which meant that this project was beyond imagination. Now it has only made a little progress, reaching 0.00002%. However, at least it is still moving forward, although slowly, but Luther can feel that his body is undergoing earth-shaking changes, and more powerful forces are constantly pouring out. My idea is not wrong. In the current situation, unless we can create a more powerful void engine, we can only waste time. Luther was thoughtful. More powerful void technology can probably only be mined from the power of the galaxy, if the Super Seminary and Shinhe civilization have not reserved it. As for the death god Karl, he has been suppressed by the Holy Kesha for too long, and has not yet obtained the full authority of the Great Clock, and it is estimated that he has not obtained any advanced void technology. Luther can only study it by himself. Fortunately, he has a super brain, not a rigid big clock, so it is impossible for him to progress slower than the death god Karl. At the same time, Morgana, who was ready, finally couldn't help but attack the Great Canyon. Dukao was teaching the super soldiers of the heroic company on the deck of the Grand Canyon, when suddenly a bullet blew his head off. Queen, we have successfully killed the war madman Dukao. The demon on Demon 1 said to Morgana. A war madman can die so easily, it's like acting. Morgana was furious, but she soon didn't care about it, because Terena had already released a radiation-free microsolar flare bombing attack on the detected wormhole, and the demon warrior was almost melted. Queen, Delena is too difficult to control. Someone needs to cause harm to her and reduce her current energy. Black Wind activated the malicious thought implantation program he left in Delena's genetic system, but it was not so easy to control Delena. Let Jie Shaolun do it, Morgana said immediately. Jie Shaolun was looking at Du Qiangwei worriedly when General Dukao fell. Jie Shaolun, who knew that the two were father and daughter, naturally became worried. The next moment, Jie Shaolun suddenly felt in a trance. His eyes darkened, and he mistook Delena in the sky for an arrogant and domineering angel, so his pupils shrank. Angel is going to take action on the Grand Canyon. Quiet, Jie Shaolun yelled at Delena, and activated her anti-void ability. Delena suddenly felt that the dark energy in her body was out of control, as if there was a paradox in the algorithm, and she screamed uncontrollably and fell from the sky, on the deck. With this interruption, Black Wind and Morgana successfully completed their control of Tyrena. Blow up the Juxia and control the wormhole to disperse the super soldiers of the heroic company. Only when they are separated can we defeat them one by one. Morgana said. All the gods want genetic resources, and Morgana is even more worried that her time rose will be targeted by God King Luther, so she plans to confuse the public. By the way, remember to broadcast first, the Queen doesn't want to hurt my rose. Morgana reminded her men. Yes, Queen. The demons all know how much Morgana attaches to Du Qiangwei, so naturally they won't care about this. Then, Yukon was directly snatched away by the devil. After Morgana controlled Delena to blast the Grand Canyon, she sent Delena to the designated place and handed it over to the god of death, Karl. Seriously, Karl, this is your best chance. You can get rid of me and the sacred Kasana Bicha together. In this case, the known universe will be yours. Morgana said to Karl, the god of death. I will never do that, Liang Bing. Death Karl said. It's up to you. I've already told you. Delena has also been sent over, and Luther has promised not to interfere. Morgana said with a sneer. I understand, try to keep Holy Kesha from moving or looking back. The god of death, Karl, did not have much confidence in using the big skull to capture the sacred Kesha. This was the first time that void technology was put into practice. The big skull is a void weapon he created using a large amount of void matter. It can forcibly imprison people and move people to different spatial locations. It is much more convenient to use than wormhole transportation. The premise is that the big skull can capture Holy Kesha. Otherwise, a strong man of Holy Kesha's level will react at the microsecond level. If he detects it and then avoids it, he will fall short. In the original plot, Holy Kesha noticed it, but did not hide. She was probably still solving the big skull, or felt that she would not be taken away by the big skull. After all, it is normal for Holy Kesha to have such confidence when she doesn't know about void technology. The sacred body is absolutely impossible to transport with the computing power of demon number 1. In addition, nothing from the death god Karl has been detected, so Holy Kesha naturally became careless. Dare to face me directly. It seems you have the confidence. Holy Kesha saw Morgana appearing in front of her, and then said unexpectedly. Let me see. Although Holy Kesha thought it was unlikely, she still wanted to read Morgana's data in case that one really intervened. Although Hexie's true form was also there, after Morgana appeared, Holy Kesha asked Hexie to be wary of Luther. It is said to be on guard, but in fact Hexie's current combat effectiveness is average. She did not learn from Holy Kesha and put the treasure trove of sacred knowledge into her dark plane, so it does not affect her strength anywhere. Hexie needs to put her heaven only when the basic system is adjusted can it show its strength. Otherwise, he would just be a more powerful fourth-generation king-level god. Luther noticed that she had a strange expression after he came to visit. He never expected that in the end, he would help Morgana. Otherwise, if Hexie's true body and Holy Kesha are here now, the god of death, Karl, will probably give up on this plan, and Morgana will also run away and will not come here again. Jie Shaolun also appeared with Morgana at this time. His eyes were dark and he seemed to be completely under control. This is not surprising. The nightmare has controlled him to dream of this scene tens of thousands of times. In addition, Jie Shaolun can no longer distinguish between dreams and reality, so he thought it was a dream. So not only did he become brothers with the demons, he also slaughtered angels on the battlefield, showing a bloodthirsty smile. Tisk, 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 the devil really knows how to play. Luther said with emotion that even if Holy Kesha banned Jie Shaolun's angel gene wings, it would be useless. Morgana installed a pair of devil wings on him. This makes Holy Kesha somewhat elusive. Is it too late to change to another galactic power? Saint Kesha looked at Jie Shaolun's current appearance, and with a flick of her finger, several silver blades emerged from the air ripples around Jie Shaolun, piercing Jie Shaolun's body and nailing him to the ground. In the end, Saint Kesha still did not decide to change the galaxy power. Since it has been born, no matter what, Saint Kesha will not easily change the galaxy power. Who knows whether the Dinor civilization and the Super Seminary still have the ability to cultivate a new galaxy power. Saint Kesha, you fool! Jie Shaolun roared at Saint Kesha without knowing whether he was alive or dead. Then Saint Kesha frowned and forcibly closed Jie Shaolun's mind, and Jie Shaolun immediately fainted. We still have to let Yan come back to deal with the nightmare. Saint Kesha was a little sorry that Jie Shaolun could not get out of the influence of the nightmare. This is a good way to temper his spiritual will. Shaolun. Morgana has regarded Jie Shaolun as her trusted general. He is so powerful. The demon cooperated with him and directly slaughtered dozens of angels. Holy Kesha couldn't stand it anymore. The whole army was about to be annihilated. So she used a dark silver archangel to easily defeat Morgana. When she was about to destroy Morgana completely, Holy Kesha was still nagging Morgana. After all, this was the last time they met. Carl, if your grandson doesn't take action, I'm going to die, Queen. Morgana saw that she was about to be killed by Holy Kesha, and she frantically exploded in the dark communication. It's done, you tell Holy Kesha not to look back. Death God Carl said immediately. However, Holy Kesha seemed to have noticed something and turned back, but she only had time to see a big skull swallowing her in one gulp. Carl, Holy Kesha came to a star that was about to explode. You can actually move me here, Holy Kesha said somewhat unexpectedly. Carl, the god of death, appeared next to him. Theoretically, it's not moving, it's just changing your position in space. Holy Kesha was thoughtful when she heard this. In other words, I am still near the moon. That's right, Death Cal doesn't mind explaining these things to Holy Kesha. Delena, the light of the sun, it seems that Pangen and Liang civilization are involved. Holy Kesha looked at Delena in the distance, who was redefining the emerald star, causing the star to rapidly reach the decay stage and enter a supernova explosion state. She only needs to raise the knife with one hand to solve Delena's problem, and she can also solve her own problems. But Holy Kesha hesitated. Queen Kesha, why don't you run away? The god of death, Carl, knew that Holy Kesha had at least two ways to avoid the current death situation. The first one was to chop Delena with a knife. By doing this, Death God Carl can use this to attack the righteous order of the angel civilization, and can also pull the sun civilization onto the chariot, and he has also taken precautions against this situation. Even if Holy Kesha does this, can't run away. The second is to leave here directly. The void barrier is currently not enough to prevent the wormhole transportation of Holy Kesha. But on this point, the god of death Carl also took precautions, and the Holy Kesha could not escape. Why should I run away? I want to see how you can destroy my order of justice. Holy Kesha looked at the god of death Carl calmly and said. Death god Carl did not expect that to this extent, Holy Kesha could still maintain such a posture. Aren't you worried about the future of angel civilization? Carl, the god of death, couldn't help but ask. I believe in my angels. Holy Kesha said confidently. Your Highness Hexi, have you ever thought that if your Queen Kesha is really destroyed, your current situation will be very dangerous? Luther suddenly said to He-Shi. How is it possible, Queen Kesha? He-Shi originally wanted to say something, but the next moment, she suddenly stood up with a look of shock on her face. Because of Holy Kesha's reaction, she disappeared. How is this possible? The man-in-law actually lost. This is bigger news than the death of Holy Left Guard Nolan in the battle. Are you involved, Your Majesty the God King? He-Shi suddenly thought of this possibility and looked at Luther in disbelief. No, if I want it, I can just do it myself. Luther said with a smile. It seems that the matter has come to an end. Next, I will have to deal with something. His Highness He-Shi, it is best not to run around. Luther stood up and left. Just as He-Shi was about to say something, several war gods with black armor and black wings appeared, making no secret of their intention to keep an eye on her behavior. Several gods of war with the power of killing gods were staring at him, as well as Ensu Yinwu. Even if they couldn't destroy her fourth-generation divine body, He-Shi was still intimidated. The thing that Luther wants to solve is naturally Delena, the light of the sun. After Morgana used her to destroy Holy Kesha, she threw her back to Earth. After all, Morgana didn't want to offend Pangen. There weren't many people in the Liang civilization in the known universe who wanted to offend him. The main reason was that it was difficult to stop them from detonating other people's stars and destroying them together. At this time, Luther took over Delena. At this time, Delena almost didn't have much access to the gene lock. Pangen had opened the access at the Tiandao Tower. Otherwise, no matter how awesome demon number 1 was, it would not be possible to directly unlock the access to the supernova explosion. In that case, Pan-Gen and Liang civilization would not let Delana leave Liang civilization at all. Luther's appearance here was a complete time lag. His super brain was able to unlock the super gene permissions that had obtained a complete backup of the power of the galaxy. Naturally, it was also able to unlock a complete light of the sun. Star energy drive, star drive, these two algorithms and technologies have finally been achieved. Luther didn't care that the last step of the incarnation of the sun was heavily encrypted. He already had the front-end technology and could develop it at any time if he wanted. Delana was still in a coma at this time, and Luther quickly completed the analysis and pushed her into the Earth's gravitational range. Then Delana was captured by the Earth's gravity and began to fall rapidly. Luther returned to his supreme heaven. She was now under house arrest by him, but Luther later had her released. "What exactly do you want to do, Your Majesty the God King?" She was puzzled and could not understand Luther's behavior at all. "If you could understand, I wouldn't need to do this." Luther replied with something very Riddler-like, and then asked she to leave. Although she really wanted to know what Luther was going to do, she could only leave first in this situation. The manly woman bowed out, and she didn't know how many things were waiting for her. At the same time, the last words of Holy Kesha began to be spread throughout the angel civilization. Through the holy knowledge treasury, the shadow of Holy Kesha suddenly appeared in the dark plane of all angels. "Confirm that Angel Yan will act as the new angel commander to protect our world for me. All angels and civilizations under his rule, please actively support and cooperate to assist Angel Yan to become the new angel king. Please understand that my state is no longer sharp. If one day I am disintegrated by the enemy, then our world of justice will need a new fighting god to regain what we have lost. Please also ask Angel He-She to give her enough tests. He-She, do you agree?" He-She couldn't help but swear when he heard this. "I agree, you big-headed ghost, manly woman." After Holy Kesha fell, He-She immediately let his space-based system start to connect to Holy Kesha's sacred atoms as soon as he left the supreme heaven. But he found that he couldn't contact the holy atom of Holy Kesha. Big Clock, the god of death Karl, is also involved. That's right, only he can destroy the tomboy. He-She looked at the mess in front of him helplessly. This is a big trouble. Holy Kesha fell, and the angels near the moon suffered heavy casualties. The demon civilization took revenge and complained. Losing the connection and computing power bonus of the sacred knowledge treasure house, Angel Lang could only flee to Blue Star with her sisters. Fortunately, the Kryptonian civilization did not stop them from going to Blue Star. Perhaps they thought that Blue Star was already a mess and didn't care about having more angels. There were hundreds of angels and so many high-level guard angels, but only a dozen people died. Most of them died in the cooperation of Crocodile God Soden and Demon Jay Shaolun. If Holy Kesha hadn't shut down Jay Shaolun's thinking, there would be more angels who died. This is probably the biggest change Luther made to the original plot. He asked Morgana to take Jay Shaolun in advance. Especially when Du Qiangwei hadn't been subdued yet. Luther didn't expect Morgana to be so straightforward or simply transplanted the demon gene to pollute Jay Shaolun's underlying gene. There are angel genes from tens of thousands of years ago in the bottom genes of the galaxy power. They were added by the angel civilization, so Jay Shaolun has the original wings of the angel, but not the wings of time and space for time and space cruising. That was after she fully upgraded and abandoned the original angel genes, completely making the new angels and the scum of the Sky 2 species. And now, this part of the angel genes has been contaminated by the demon genes, which means that the bottom genes of Jay Shaolun have become demon genes. This is not surprising. Jay Shaolun's willpower is very weak. The demon genes are most likely to arouse people's desires and emotions. After discovering that Jay Shaolun is particularly obsessed with Du Qiangwei and has the desire to have 10 school beauties, Morgana is surprised that the future of the angel civilization is this thing. But she still let Jay Shaolun fall according to this desire. The demon civilization did not continue to hunt down these dozen angels. The hatred between them and the angels is not equal. After all, they can be resurrected, but the angels cannot be resurrected. And Morgana only targeted the Holy Kesha, and didn't care about other angels. Of course, if they jumped in front of her, Morgana would not mind killing them. She did not stop and went back to Mellow Heaven. She could not care about the life and death of these dozen angels. Mellow Heaven was the most important thing now. As for the future of the angel civilization of galaxy power, it is still a question whether the angel civilization can protect itself. Although she is also a king, she is not very confident in herself. After all, she does not think she can beat the tomboy. Even the tomboy was destroyed, let alone her. However, she still let her clone combat puppet on Blue Star go to Angel Lang and the others, as a protection. Then she thought of Luther, who was not in a hurry from the beginning. Did he expect that the tomboy would be destroyed? Luther returned to the supreme heaven with the super gene of the sunlight and started to implement a sunlight stellar energy drive algorithm. Stellar drive algorithm. Hasn't the Liang civilization been updated for tens of thousands of years? Luther was amazed. It even included planetary climate control technology, stellar light and heat regulation technology, etc. in detail. The original design concept of the sunlight was to illuminate the ultimate fear. It is expected that when darkness cannot obtain matter and energy, Delena will turn into the sun to illuminate the world. Although Luther has not figured out how to make the law of conservation of energy and entropy reasonable, Luther tried to drive the energy of the stars, and the nearby stars were naturally the stars of the Chiwu star system. Suddenly, a ball of light and heat radiation energy appeared in Luther's hand. This thing is more promising than Dr. Octopus's thermonuclear fusion. After all, it is a real star. Luther felt that his cells were greedily absorbing these stellar energies. Originally, his cell potential had reached its limit. Recently, due to the work of the black hole engine, it was getting stronger. At this time, after absorbing these stellar energies, his cells tore apart, and then quickly regenerated into more powerful cells to accommodate power. With the idea of the light of the sun, it should be possible to study the stellar compression technology and compress a star in my body. This is why Luther has always been obsessed with the light of the sun. The blue giant compressed energy gun in the Black Man is a similar concept, and the radiation of the blue giant is probably equivalent to a superpower developer for Kryptonians. The light of the sun can drive and ignite stars. As long as it is combined with space technology, it should be possible to compress a complete star. At that time, Luther will be equivalent to having a continuously evolving promoter. After all, stars are the real infinite energy furnace for Kryptonians. Of course, the plot that has changed is probably Angel Yan. The reason why Angel Yan's energy is insufficient in the original plot is that she spent energy to send Jie Shaolun back to Earth. Now, Angel Yan naturally does not need to send Jie Shaolun away. After the sub-biological engine is activated and becomes a divine body, Angel Yan's energy is enough to recover the huge wound she was stabbed by Sword Demon Atuo. Although Sword Demon Atuo does not have Jie Shaolun's Void Engine sword, he still has the god-killing weapon. However, Angel Yan's condition is only much better than the original plot, which is not enough for her to return to the angel civilization. So after Angel Yan made a judgment, he planned to fly to Blue Star to find Delena to replenish and restore his energy. From here, we can see that the angels do not have the technology to replenish stellar energy. Their stellar energy driving technology comes from the Flame Sword, and the Flame Sword's own energy reserves are also limited. Angel Lang and his friends were beaten to the point of running out of energy when they were defending the North Star. She had studied in the Liang civilization, but she did not solve the technical problem of replenishing stellar energy. I don't know if it is difficult to install or to avoid suspicion. Or is it that the angel's own computing power is not enough to support them to calculate the stellar algorithm of the Chiwu star system? No matter which one it is a good thing for Luther. The light of the sun has reached the extreme as a super gene, but since we have obtained such a precious algorithm and core engine, why not directly transform it into a stellar engine? Luther does not lack void particles, and the black hole engine cannot satisfy him. It is not said that there can be no dual void engines, right? As long as the body can withstand it, 2 void engines are fine. For Kryptonians, stellar engines are naturally better and more suitable. They can create stars at will. In this desperate situation, they can just create a sun to turn the tables. In that case, I can become a black hole god and a star god, provided that these 2 void engines are useful in other worlds. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.